This program brought to you by Nike and RACV Insurance. Final day continues at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's North Melbourne and Sydney in the AFL Reserve Grade Grand Final.
Welcome to our viewers right around Australia to the Melbourne Cricket Ground for the live telecast of the Reserves Grand Final here today between the Sydney Swans, yes, the Swans, with a chance to get their first ever premiership, if you regard them as a former South Melbourne, since 1933, and they've never won in the reserves. But of course now they're trying to forge a new image for themselves as the harbour side, and they would certainly create history today if they could win today against North Melbourne. North Melbourne finished on top of the ladder, and the Sydney Swans finished third with a win-loss record of 15-7. They played a couple of weeks ago in the second semi-final, and it was a one-point game. North Melbourne kicked a goal in the last minute to win by a point. In fact, these two teams have played 4 times this season, and the biggest margin between them has been 10 points. It's 3-1 in favour of North Melbourne, but nothing between these two sides right throughout the year, so it should be an absolute thriller between these two. We can't wait.
The 1995 AFL Premiership season, brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Australia, Qantas, McDonald's, Mobil, Carlton Draft and National Australia Bank.
It's actually quite warm here on Grand Final Day and overcast at the moment, but with all the details of the weather, it's 7 Nightly News weatherman and expert David Brown. Good morning, David.
G'day, Drew. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Well, I tell you what, the wind's starting to mix down just a little bit here, Drew. Yes, and the cloud is continuing to thicken as well. We can have a look at the radar and see just what's happening. Now, as we run the latest radar sequence, you can see some blue, that's right, patches of blue heading towards Melbourne. That indicates some very light rain. In fact, there's only just been a few drops of rain up near Ballarat, and the way things are going, Drew, it should be okay for the big game here at the MCG this afternoon. We'll have a bit of a fresh northerly breeze and just maybe 1 or 2 brief drops of rain during the second half of the game, but look, I think it'll be okay. Top of around 22 degrees, and just a little bit of weather trivia. Back in 1987, when Carlton won their last grand final, the temperature got up to 30.7 degrees, making it the hottest grand final day on record. Well, that won't happen today temperature-wise. As I said, around 22, maybe 1 or 2 higher. Currently here at the MCG, we have 19 degrees. Drew?
Thank you, David. Yes, 1987. It was so hot that Michael Tucker even played the grand final in a sleeveless Guernsey. We hadn't seen that too much. Well, people coming from all over the place to get to the MCG today, and here they come across the Westgate Bridge. And all those Geelong supporters who have been coming down here, well, the Cats have been in it 3 times in the last 6 years, and today makes it 4 out of 7. Both teams in blue and white colours, but I can tell you, I reckon those ones coming across the Westgate Bridge from the Geelong area would be officially Geelong supporters. And there they are, Go Cats on the bus. There won't be too many spare seats here today, if any. And the crowd building up outside the ground. And the atmosphere on Grand Final Day is terrific. Some people reckon the sun gets over the yard arm at breakfast time. So they've set up little barbecue tables and chairs outside, and I can officially report that the champagne corks were popping at the early stage of the day. So I don't know what condition they'll be in when the Premiership Cup is held aloft sometime after 5 o'clock later on this afternoon. But people having a great day here at the Grand Final in 95. And look at them outside the ground. You would need a ticket at this stage, and if you haven't got a ticket now, it is going to cost you plenty from the scalpers. And there are plenty of people outside begging, pleading, wanting to buy a ticket to get in here. Now, the vast areas in the southern stand which are vacant, of course, they're all reserve seats, and plenty of those will be coming later, and they have their number on their seat. So they'll be quite happy to get here a little bit later. But if they get here too late, they'll miss the Reserves Grand Final, which, as I said, should be a beauty. I'll be joined in commentary today by Dennis Cometti and Gerard Healy. And on the boundary, we'll have Russell Morris, who's going to be busy all day today. But I can take you over now to Gerard and Dennis to look at the teams for the Reserves Grand Final.
Yeah, good morning, Drew. Taking a look at these two lineups. Quite a few familiar faces out there, Gerard. Well, that there is, Dennis, and good morning, everybody. 31 players, in fact, have had senior experience this year, playing in the reserves final. 17 for the Sydney Swans, and of course 14 for North Melbourne. So most of these names will be familiar to all of you. And here's the lineups as they were named in the paper. Probably won't line up as exactly that, but you see some very big names there. One in Anthony Rocca down in the forward pocket for the Sydney Swans. He's had a terrific year, really, when you consider he's only a 17-year-old, and one would expect that he would be one of the main people that the Swans will be looking forward to giving them some drive. Troy Luff there up against Keenan Reynolds, two pretty familiar faces. Luff had a couple of great games for the Swans this year. In fact, he kicked 6 goals against St Kilda once in the absence of Tony Lockett. Up against Keenan Reynolds, one of the boom recruits for this season, Dennis. That should be a pretty tight battle.
Yes, he struggled with injury. One man having a wonderful final round. There's Rocca up on the forward line. Craig Bradley waiting his turn. Not far away now.
May well be the last time we see Alex Ishchenko graced the MCG, one of the great old dinosaurs. Had a terrific career with the Eagles, North Melbourne.
Talking about an informed player, I was going to mention Wade Chapman too, having a wonderful final round so far.
And we get underway for the reserves grand final with Stafford up against Ishchenko. Neither can clear it out of the middle, but Pyman does for North Melbourne. His kick up towards the 50-metre, 2 against 2. They fly, can't take the mark. Mark Stevens comes down with it. Hand pass wide. It's there at centre half forward for North, but Caven goes back with his hand pass, and they clear through McPherson up towards the centre of the ground, and the Swans moving the ball well early in the piece. Seymour just behind centre wing. Up to Luff, just over the wing. Troy Luff, who replaced Tony Lockett at full forward in the seniors a few times this year, and kicked half a dozen in one senior game. The kick by Luff to a vacant forward area, all North Melbourne. North working it across the ground, Danny Stevens. And we welcome viewers around Australia who join us for the reserves grand final. Alastair Clarkson for North, bringing the Northerners into centre half forward, but Caven clears out of defence for the Sydney Swans. Should be a ripper game here in the reserves grand final, and we're in the opening minute of the game. The short pass misses Rocca, and the mark is taken by Geister.
He plays on immediately. Members side with a kick. Traianidis got a hand to it, couldn't control it. Runs back onto it, nicely done. Simpson wobbles a kick down towards the half-forward line. Stevens, unkind bounce. Mooney will get back. Caven, the good shepherd. Mooney across the ground. Scott needed to stretch, couldn't reach it. McPherson crashes in, well played. Goes down towards half-forward, probing kick. North Melbourne have got the numbers around the ball. Ishchenko cast in the role of a rover, thumps it out, and they'll get it away. Nicely done. This is Simpson once more. Peeling off, he got it from Freeborn. Kicks down towards half-forward. Awkward bounce for everybody. Brunton to Seymour.
And McPherson for the Swans, straight up the ground to Chapman. And the kick, it was actually by Scott, up to half-forward, marked by Ishchenko. Across towards the outer side of the ground, and Danny Stevens. Centre wing now. Clarkson, who's had plenty of seniors experience. So is this man, McAdam. The kick by McAdam, close to the boundary line inside the 50. Just beats the outstretched hands and goes out of bounds.
Alastair Clarkson is regarded as the Greg Williams of the reserve competition, as Warren Campbell comes for a rest on the bench, obviously trying to just destabilise the Swans, bringing John Barnett, a young, talented rover type, onto the forward line.
Clarkson actually winning the ball in ruck. Gets it down to Pyman. Not great distance with the kick, but it's to full forward, and getting back there in defence, Mooney takes the mark.
Well, Jason Mooney really has to use this grand final as a springboard for his next year. He's a talented player. Probably just got waylaid a little bit this season, but has got a big future if he knuckles down.
We'll start again. Mooney's got it. He got it from McPherson to Seymour. He chips it out wide. This is Barry. He's at right half back. Great chance for the Swans here towards the wing. Crawford. He finished the season in great form in the seniors. He runs down towards the 50. That's a poor kick though towards the pocket, ill-directed. Geister goes back and drops the mark. He, like Crawford, finished the season in the seniors. Should have marked that one. Boundary throw in right full forward for the Swans. Still no score early going in the reserves grand final. Rocca and Ishchenko, body to body. Rocca won it. Gorman dragged off the kick. Nichols comes away. Good one towards the wing. Mooney in best position, got a hand to it. It was being held. It falls to Scott. He's got some time, but he overran it. Stevens crashes in. Held to him, says the umpire. Bounce alongside the centre circle.
Scott, after fumbling, applied a very good tackle, and Mark Stevens was going nowhere then. Ball up. Keenan Reynolds palms it down, but it comes to Chapman of the Swans. 60 metres from goal. Hand pass back, and you're under heaps of pressure, son. Pushed in the back, and we'll get the free kick. The North Melbourne player, Jason Danilchenko. No.
Wade Chapman for Sydney is a very talented player, and one worth watching. He's going to take a little time to develop, but great ball skills and sense.
Here's Danilchenko taking the ball from Pyman. On the run, he's left-footed to centre half forward. Almost chopped off back there in defence. Hurried kick straight up in the air, hasn't cleared the area at all. Dwyer. Chance for the first score here for North. Good tackling though. The ball palmed back outside the 50. The Swans have it. Danilchenko knocks it up for North. Inside the 50. Dwyer gets the little hand pass across. But Stafford is there for the Swans to clear from centre half back towards the southern stand side of the ground. And an excellent mark taken by Daniel Stevens. He goes on with it, still looking for the first score. 55 metres out, the kick is low and very disappointing in the final chop-up. Mark taken by Mangan.
Well, both sides taking a little time to settle here. They're winning the possession well, but their kicking hasn't found the target often enough. As you just see another vital mistake.
Oh, that was a shocker. Intended for Seymour. It's been marked by Alastair Clarkson. Strange variety of cat, that one.
Proffer a no.
So Clarkson, who made his league debut back in 1987, only 3 senior games this season, should boot this and certainly should register the first score regardless. It's close. A behind. So we do have the first score. Alastair Clarkson. That's the margin in the game. North in front. Mangan. The Cats, I think, will start sentimental favourites today. As Mangan boots it in, that's better. Goes for distance this time towards the outer side, up in front. Strong mark is taken by Stafford.
Good start of the game by the big, lanky Sydney-sider. He's got plenty of mobility and plenty to offer the Swans.
McPherson dropped it in the middle of the ground, but they're moving it forward well now through Wade Chapman. A long, high ball to full forward. Down goes Rocca. Crowd want a free kick. Comes off hands. The hand pass comes back in front of goal. 30 metres out, and Crawford snaps the first goal.
Foster's Light Ice. For extreme refreshment on tap.
You can only do that in a van you can walk through. The new Mitsubishi Express walk-through van.
Swans by 5 points. Knocked out of the middle by Chapman. Contessa comes away and swings it out wide for North into the path of Clarkson and/or Stevens coming up from centre half forward. They combine. Man on in the middle. The looping hand pass comes over the top. Taken by Danny Stevens, who boots well inside the 50. McAdam, was he held? Not according to the umpire. Lachlan gets back hard against the line. Well, that's interesting. Took it across. Sold it pretty well.
And here's Michael O'Loughlin. Just about kept the ball in, but he may have traversed the line.
I think he knew exactly where the line was. Boundary throw in. Reynolds hooks it down behind. McAdam is there. Mangan throws it on the boot. Gets it out towards half back. Stafford, unkind bounce. Ishchenko, awkward one for Simpson. This is Pyman, who started very well, to Reynolds from 60 metres out. Down towards full forward. Going back with great courage down there, Seymour. Barnett throws it on the boot. All the Swans, they needed plenty too. Mooney dropped it. McPherson was there telling him, you're okay, you're okay. Well, he wasn't quite. Forced through for a behind. The margin is 4 points.
There's those little lapses in concentration that Jason Mooney has got to overcome if he's to become a top senior player. Stuart Mangan, who's kicking out, has had a pretty good record on. Adrian McAdam has started well again.
Tim Scott got it and gets it up to Crawford. A hand pass back in, and the Swans off and running through Barry. Now they've lost it. North up towards the 50. Traianidis dragged down in a good tackle. Gets the hand pass out towards Trent Nichols. Close to the line. O'Loughlin happy to see it out again. He doesn't. Buys a good tackle though, and Barry clears for the Swans. Thumping kick to centre wing. Danilchenko in front position and gets the ball over the interchange gate, out of bounds, centre wing. Jason Danilchenko, who's actually played in beaten reserves grand finals in the last 2 years. North have lost the last 2, so they'd want to turn it around and win today.
Alex Ishchenko centre screen. Luff from behind knocks it down. Contessa dragged down. Barnett knocks it North's way. They work it out. Traianidis got it from Simpson. Kicks inside the 50. Awkward bounce. Slapped towards the boundary line. Across it goes. That was well played down there by Mooney. And to judge the bouncing ball, and like a soccer goalie going to his right-hand side, Gerard, he thumped it away.
Yes, good reflex action there. And Michael O'Loughlin, well, has seen his immense talents on the forward line for the senior Sydney Swans, but just doing a little bit of defensive work in the back half of the oval.
Inside the 50. Hyman on his knees, did nicely to Simpson from 40 metres out across the goal face. Mooney played it well with his body. Rode Stevens off the ball. Stevens came back and then kicked it out of bounds on the full. Interesting duel that so far.
Mark Stevens played a number of senior games this year. Generally in the forward line, came on as the third tall, and I'm sure he will feature heavily in Dennis Pagan's plans for next season.
Mooney to Caven. Still deep in the back pocket. Peter Caven. Who played 39 league games for Fitzroy. Beginning back in 91 under Robert Shaw. Goes across the goal face. Mooney again. Under pressure. Barry, the bouncing ball inside half-back. Goes directly across the ground. This will be interesting. McAdam is out there. Almost the mark off his fingertips. Contessa just inside the boundary line. Little chip pass. Reynolds. He's about 60 metres out. The short one intended for Clarkson. Sensing the danger, Caven got across.
And Caven's started pretty well, coming up for his 5th possession in the opening 11.5 minutes. Over centre half back he goes. That's good play by Mangan, getting well up the ground. McPherson. McPherson comes out towards centre wing. The punch from behind by Crawford was disciplined. He goes in after it again. He might win a ball here. He wasn't entitled to get near. Well done by Crawford. Gets the ball up the ground. Swans go forward again. Hurriedly inside 50. It's there for the Rovers. Danilchenko there for North. Gets it outside the 50, and it's all North Melbourne. Trent Nichols gathers the ball at half-back flank. Thumps it to half-forward. Mark Stevens just inside the line. Now to full forward. Here's a chance for North. Pyman at the back, goes off the ground. Missed it altogether. Mangan clears for the Swans. Left footer. Out of defence, and the mark is taken by Bomford, who's a supplementary list player for the Swans. Up towards the centre of the ground, and a beautiful kick by Bomford. The mark taken by Dion Miles. Across to McPherson, who's been prominent early. From the centre circle he goes to full forward. Ball slapped up the ground in the path of Nichols. Hurriedly to half forward he goes. Pyman waits for a teammate. Reynolds gets it back. North moving the ball forward well this time, and Pyman, who's had a heap of the football so far, and coming up for his 6th possession. And we'll well remember Robert Pyman, who's cost the club a big fine for draft tampering before he even got to North Melbourne. Came over from Adelaide and has played just 16 senior games in 3 seasons. North looking for their first goal and looking to hit the front. 50 metres out. Won't make it. Stafford gets back.
Deep in his own defensive area, plays on. Seymour Across the goal face to Mangan, deep in the back pocket. Poor kick. He's done that a couple of times. Stevens unloads from long range. Stafford gets back, takes the mark. I'll move it out again. Barnett pulled back on the mark a couple of metres. I'd venture to say still too close on the mark, but the umpire letting him stay there. Caven had to stretch. Now he plays on. Peter Caven out of defence, goes wide, very wide. Scott, will he get there in time? No, he won't. The ball runs away and out of bounds.
Well, not a great deal of system coming out of defence there from Sydney. Generally, it's better to go to the opposite side of the ground from where the ball came. If you go back down the same path, it's you generally run into a wall of opposition players, and the Swans did have a number 3 on the members' wing.
Bomford hard against the line towards half forward, going back Freeborn. Almost a strong mark, couldn't hang on. Across the line it goes.
Good young player, Andrew Bomford. Speaking to Dennis Carroll during the week, suggests he'll be well and truly up at the end of the season, up at the top in the best and fairest counting, so a player to look out for.
Mallon is 49. Neither he nor Luff touched the ball. Stevens threw it on the boot around the outer side. This is Reynolds. Hugs the boundary line with the kick. Well done by the big man Stafford.
Taking about 3 marks in 2 minutes.
Yes, hanging back, a kick behind the play. Very deep moments ago. Now he's pushed up the ground. He goes in short to Caven this time, who's right on the wing. The short pass intended for Scott is a short player. And now it's taken away by Freeborn. Back towards half forward. In front, Nichols hooks it goalward. The bodies go in. Stevens over the ball. Well played from his knees. Gets it to Nichols, who feeds it back. Oh, Reynolds showed too much of it. Smothered by Brunton. Brunton kicks down towards centre half forward. Lang up in front. Loose ball behind. Who's got the recovery? Lang has. Gives it to Rocca. He runs into an open goal and he gets it.
Someday we'll all be together once more. When all of the ships come back to the shore, and I realize something that I've always known.
Goal to Rocca there, being picked up by Paul Geister. Geister finished the season well. 3 senior games, 2 of them in finals for North Melbourne. Mallon in the ruck. Stafford for the Swans. Stafford beautifully down to Chapman. Hurried kick inside the 50. Past Luff it goes. It's still there for him. Lost control of the ball now. Simpson goes back with his hand pass and North work it out of defence well. Now it's Clarkson. He's kicked to centre wing. And a long lead, and the mark taken by O'Dwyer. Centre wing. To the 50. Pyman juggles, can't mark. Traianidis. Pyman in there again. And eventually the umpire will have to ball it up. Number 53 there, Jason Traianidis. He's the kid who kicked the goal in the last minute 2 weeks ago to beat the Swans by a point. Former soccer player who didn't take up this game until deep into his teenage years.
There's the bounce. The ruckman went at the ball. Chapman out of the congestion towards the wing. Danilchenko leads in the race, pushes it across, it's out of bounds. Boundary throw in, right in front of our commentary position. Jason Danilchenko. Luff in front, directs it down. Could have almost been a free to the Swans. Scott heads for the boundary line and finds it. Another throw in with Sydney leading 12-2, the early going. This reserves grand final, just over 6 minutes to quarter time. Luff and Danilchenko this time. From behind, Pyman won it down. Luff gained about 5 metres. Clarkson comes away though. Probing kick inside the 50. Caven goes back. Big pack at that one. Barnett's got it 30 metres out. He hooks it too far. It runs on and goes through for a behind. North Melbourne 3 points. Sydney 2 goals. Tony Lockett and Paul Kelly watching their reserve side in action at the present time. And obviously they've started pretty well.
Short pass in. Clean bowls Caven just as well. There was nobody near him. Fires the hand pass away, or the floater over the top to Mangan, and the left footer is given straight up to the opposition, Clarkson, who's cutting them up early. Barnett is there, can't take the mark. 30 metres out from goal. He comes back with the hand pass. Contessa was in there. Through goes Campbell. It's a North Melbourne free kick within goal scoring distance. 30 to 35 metres out from goal.
And once again, the possession game that Sydney are trying to affect in defence is bringing them unstuck. Just too many short passes. I'm a great advocate of the possession game, but coming out of defence, the longer kick to maintain possession usually is far more effective than just chipping the ball 10 metres.
Lachlan looked pretty desperate to give away a free kick. He went from one to another to another. And Campbell gets the kick and has missed again from definite goal-kicking range, and that is 4 behinds to North. The Swans have kicked 2 goals. And there's Warren Campbell, son of former South Fremantle legend Basil Campbell, and he's dropped right out of favour with North Melbourne, and his form's dropped right away.
I have to say his dad's name quietly. If we're in the company of Don Scott, he gets a nervous twitch as the ball comes in. Stafford gets a hand to it, it falls behind. Simpson against the flow did well, got it to Clarkson, who pokes it through the pack. Contessa about 40 metres out. Here's wide of the marker behind. So North can't kick a goal at the present time. Sydney have 2, and the margin is 7 points. Mooney, another left footer, kicks in, has to stretch to get his own kick out of the back pocket, goes towards the outer side. And a good mark is taken by the smallest man in that pack, and that's Scott, Tim Scott, towards the wing, gives it away again. So Sydney getting plenty of the ball, but they're giving it away too easily. The ball is squared towards the middle, and Dwyer got it from Clarkson. He kicks inside the 50. Reynolds, in fact, it goes to Campbell, who was offering the deeper lead, and he's got this one about 40 metres out on a slight angle.
And it's a great kick from Dwyer, who is a very talented player, 28 years of age, so he's got plenty of experience. This is an important one for North Melbourne. Sometimes it's just difficult to crack the ice in a grand final, and once you do, the floodgates can tend to open.
Well, they remain closed, and nobody is back there for North. That's terrible. Mooney, uncontested, takes the mark, comes away, goes in short. This is Bomford cruising past. He gives it to Scott. Scott drives it around the outer side once more. Luff's up in front. Ishchenko forced to spoil. Pyman did brilliantly, falling to the ground. Got it to Gorman, who boots down towards half forward. O'Loughlin is up. Controlled it pretty well to his own advantage. Hasn't got it. He was standing up. He must get a free.
And Michael O'Loughlin, I saw his debut for the seniors this year against Adelaide. He kicked 3 goals on debut in that famous last quarter when the Swans kicked 11-9 to a point. Here's Rocca at centre half forward.
Good use of the body by young Rocca, and he really does have all the physical attributes of a star player.
It took them a long time to convince him to actually toss in his lot with the Sydney Swans. It wasn't until April that he decided to play with them. Even while based in Melbourne and doing school, he has kicked at a country kilometre. A magnificent kick. It is just offline, but boy, that'll come down with icicles on it.
How does a country kilometre vary from a metro mile?
It didn't take very long to get there, did it? That one. That was a beauty.
That was a beauty. It's a big kick, says his brother. There he is. In controversial circumstances early in the season, went to Sydney as Barry takes the mark just outside the 50. Plays on quickly. That's a good kick. Rocca getting in behind should mark this, and he has. Well, no one came with it. They had to get a body on him. They didn't, and as a result, he's about 5 metres out. Sharp angle.
Great effort here by Rocca. Just eyes on the football, and that combination of Leo Barry to Anthony Rocca is something we're going to see very regularly on Sunday afternoons in the late game in the future.
Important kick. He runs around, he snaps, and I think he's got it okay. He has. Sydney get their 3rd.
Mobile have asked me to demonstrate exactly how many cards their card option network accepts. Fair enough. In all, it's over 300 credit NetPOS cards, including all the biggies and their reward programs, like Telstra Visa.
Paying by card, sir.
They take mine, they'll take yours, wherever you see card option at Mobile and Quicks.
Dennis Carroll, who was the captain of the Swans for 7 years, and now coach of the reserve grade. And the Swans are 3-1 to 5 points, so it's been a good start. Stafford wins in the middle. Pyman, number 30, gets back there, doesn't get the football. Chapman. Umpire says, give it to me, I'll ball it up. Brunton. He's been flicked 3 times by the Sydney Swans. Keeps on coming back. Neither ruckman really there. North go forward to the 50. Once again, they've given it up pretty easily. Pyman's kick, 2 against 2 here. Big leap at the back by Mangan. Underneath the pack is Reynolds. The umpire will ball it up. This is right in front, about 15 or 20 metres out. Keenan Reynolds. He calls himself Crackers. Introduced himself to me once and said, "G'day, Crackers."
He was talking to you. Mooney knocks it out. Boundary throw in. Sydney by 14 points. Jason Mooney up against Keenan Reynolds, in from the side. Caven knocks it down. Caven comes again, gains about 20 metres and runs it across the boundary line. But the MCG, the sun is trying to shine through. Plenty of cloud about, but it suggests no rain, certainly in the near future, as the crowd continues to build. Reynolds goes up, hooks it down. Contessa out of the pack, snaps down towards full forward. Mangan angles a fist on that one. O'Loughlin concedes a behind. Bounces off the goalpost. So, North Melbourne now to 6 behinds. And Sydney 3-1, approaching quarter time.
That gentleman looks as if he probably got here at the crack of dawn to secure his seat.
Yes. There's Ishchenko. Looping hand pass, not a particularly good one. Clarkson gets back, flicks it back to Ishchenko, who settles on the wing and kicks down towards half forward. The clock is down to 20 seconds, and a great mark is taken there by Pyman. He's been terrific in this opening term. The best man on the ground so far. They would like to see that, I think. That's a great grab by Robert Pyman, the 6th man taken in the 92 draft in a deal that sent Paul Spargo to Brisbane. He will kick after the siren. He's going for the spiral torpedo. So often the case doesn't get onto it. It falls about 25 metres short. So North Melbourne go goalless in the opening term, and they trail by 13 points. Quarter time in the reserves grand final. And it's Sydney 3-1, North Melbourne 6 behinds.
It's 1 against 2, a battle of the best, and it's about to begin. Carlton and Geelong coming your way soon on 7. The 7 Sport Mitsubishi Mark of the Year. Your phone vote could win you a Lancer GLX Coupe. Just dial the phone number you wish to vote for. Mark 1, Paul Kelly, Sydney. Mark 2, Dale Kickett, Fremantle. Mark 3, Gilbert McAdam, Brisbane. Mark 4, Kingsley Hunter, Fremantle. Mark 5, Sean Smith, Melbourne.
So, what do you think?
Oh, the Beijing thing. Coffee?
Yeah. Oh, no thanks.
Well, it's big. It's a hell of a big commitment. We can do it. We have to gear up, move quick.
And if we don't, you know he's going to pick it up, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Look, it's a great contract. A great opportunity, but I don't know. Are we ready?
Chris, are we ready?
Mate, we're overdue. Okay. All right, but it means increasing our bank loan. You know that.
At the National, we make it our business to understand yours. So when the opportunity arrives, we can tailor a loan to make the most of it.
7 o'clock tomorrow morning, sound. I couldn't go.
No, here.
Here?
Night, Dave. Chris.
Night. Oh, Sandra. The bank will be here in the morning.
National Australia Bank, tailoring banking to your needs.
See you later.
I'll see you. Brad, you've had a few, man, so maybe I should drive, huh? What do you reckon?
I'm all right.
No. Look, man, I'll drive. Here.
Get in the car.
You shouldn't be driving.
It's okay.
Hey, Joey. Come on.
What's this?
Hey, cut it out. Pull over now. Please.
Joey, I killed my brother.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way.
Quarter-time score here in the Reserves Grand Final, and the Sydney Swans, with the only 3 goals of the opening term, they're 3-1-19, leading North Melbourne 6 behinds. Anthony Rocca 2 goals, and Justin Crawford has kicked 1. The crowd continues to build, and the face painters have been busy in Melbourne this week, and there were kids getting to training even on Tuesday and Thursday night with their faces painted. Naturally, they'd come on the Saturday to the big one. And plenty of excitement about the Cats' chances this year after being disappointed 3 times in the last 6 years. If you've got a ticket, you're in. If you haven't, bad luck. Ground looks terrific. Now down on the boundary line, a couple of famous Swans with Russell Morris.
Yes, Drew, I've got 2 famous Swans. One, the most recent Brownlow medalist, Paul Kelly, and the other one, Tony Lockett. Sorry, we've forgotten, Plugger. How are you going?
Go fire, you going, mate?
Just give us a bit of a rundown of what happened on Monday night up with Kel's win.
Yeah, it was, it was true for the people in Sydney, but it was a little bit disappointing that Kel wasn't there, obviously, because he was down here, but I'm sure they've made up for it since.
What about yourself, Kel, the eyes? Mate, you've got a bit of a moon tan. How are you feeling at the moment, that many function?
Oh, I've had a pretty big week, mate, but I'm slowly getting over them and looking forward to a weekend back in Wagga.
Mate, do you know where you are at the moment?
Yeah, I think I'm at the MCG.
Have you hit the ground?
Not yet. No, I haven't. It's something that I didn't expect. It's been a magnificent week, and I'm really enjoying it.
So I'm sure you'll just be really happy if the Swans win the premiership today and have another celebration. Do you need another beer?
Oh, I don't need another one, but I certainly hope they get up.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. Good luck and have a great time.
Thanks, Mike. See you, mate.
Thank you.
Well, the Sydney
great
Swans
start to the Swans in the second term while we were talking to them, getting the first goal and the second for Crawford.
Absolutely, they've certainly hit the ground running. If Paul Kelly's feet aren't on it, then Justin Crawford's are, because he's bobbed up for his second goal, 1 in each quarter. Very direct passage of play then by the Swans.
So North need to be careful here. It's slipping away a little. Ishchenko worth a kick down towards half forward. Nichols in front, little back heel if you don't mind. Didn't come off. Brunton. Now McPherson over the ball, feeds it back. Nicely done, and they work it away once more. Bomford goes over the top. And now Chapman goes down towards half forward. That was good footy. Awkward half volley down there. Has let Miles in. He's right on the 50, tried to pull it back. Geister smothered the kick. Miles comes again, tries to knock it to Rocca, who kept it in front. Geister put him down though. Danilchenko picks it up, kicks towards the wing. Caven couldn't quite reach it. Pyman again. Has a bounce, squares the ball. Directly across the field it comes. Now Clarkson. Clarkson pulls it back towards the middle. Stevens worked off the ball. McAdam, though, goes up and takes the mark. McAdam directly in front, about 40 metres out.
Well, we haven't seen much of Adrian McAdam to date. getting well held by Stuart Mangan. But this is the place to pick up a kick in front. But the pass was good and the mark was even better.
Sydney launched an attack just moments ago, initiated by Leo Barry across half back. They didn't finish it, and as a result, McAdam could punish them with the first goal for North. They need one desperately. And this man is a sharpshooter. And the kick looks pretty good. They get there first.
9 out of 10, out of 10, 9 out of 10.
We've dressed that Oregon for you.
I'd add a slow-release fertiliser.
Out of 10, every time.
Put a light sand in between coats.
Hi, Bill. What project are you working on today? This will help you step by step.
9 out of 10, out of 10, every time.
Thank you. Well, that was good value.
9 out of 10, out of 10, every time.
From the centre bounce, Contessa for North, up towards the 50. Reynolds slides a little hand pass back. Ishchenko doing the roving to Clarkson. On the bounce, it goes up towards the 50. Contessa a hurried kick offline and out of bounds in the forward pocket, and we'll have a throw in. Mike Willesee watching on, who has played lower grades for South Melbourne and has poured plenty of money into this club, so he'd be very keen to see them do well here today. Throw in the forward pocket. Mooney towards the boundary line. McAdam keeps it in, but eventually it's taken over. Brad Seymour, who is a Wagga Tigers boy from the same place as the Brownlow medalist Paul Kelly. But North doing the attacking in the last couple of minutes. They need a comeback after being goalless in the first quarter. Campbell goes back with his hand pass. McAdam off the left. On the edge of the square, Reynolds marks. So the minor premiers are coming back at the Swans here. Keenan Reynolds, formerly with Essendon in the lower grades, went to Footscray. He was taken in the March draft, number 15 pick. And gets a goal in a grand final.
Well, North Melbourne need greater service out of their more experienced players. They've got a lot of players out on the ground that have played a lot of senior football, as against the Swans, who've got a lot of youngsters there that have just had a taste. And Keenan Reynolds would be one of the most significant of those type of players. Had a pretty quiet first quarter, but he started the second quarter in terrific fashion. The Swans will have to be fairly wary of him, that he doesn't cut loose and kick half a dozen.
The Swans by 7 points. Centre square infringement, and the kick will go to the Swans. Stafford to take it. The break came across half forward for North. It had been Nichols who came into the square. Stafford a long kick well inside the 50. Gorman gets back though and juggles the mark deep in his own defensive area. Glenn Gorman elects to play on, goes towards the outer side wing. Ishchenko the target. Stafford fisting away. The Swans roving the pack. Crawford took his eye off the ball. Scott picked it up. It was blanketed though. It spills back to Clarkson. Looping hand pass to Pyman. Pyman, who got the initial smother. Boots around the outer side wing. It pitches towards half forward. O'Loughlin leads in the race. The boundary line is too close. And a boundary throw in outer side. Important goals, those last couple.
Darren Kapler, he's finished up with the Sydney Swans.
The outer side, well controlled by Dwyer. To Pyman once more, off his step, pulls it back towards the middle. In from the side, Caven did very well, thumped it towards the boundary and got it out.
He's going to be a tough player to replace Darren Kapler. The Swans aren't overly blessed with pace, and also their skill level of kicking the ball into Tony Lockett is perhaps also a weakness, and he's one player that has both of those qualities. So they'll need to come up with a player to step up to take his position.
McAdam from wide out near the boundary line kicks a sensational goal. Back in the centre, and guess what? The margin between these two teams is a point once again. North have really hit back at the start of this second quarter, revved up at quarter time by Rodney Eade, who you'd reckon next week will have a seniors coaching job for sure. He's got his hat in the ring with 3 different jobs. Hand pass comes back to Caven, and that was delivered by Barry. Kicked by Caven to centre half forward. Rocca sandwiched out of it. Geister takes the mark. Paul Geister, who played in the reserves grand final last year for North. Former South Australian. Pyman, another former South Australian, has interfered here with a push in the back and has given away the free kick to Scott.
Pretty stiff on Pyman there. I thought it was just good use of the body.
Swans up forward, and at centre half forward the mark is dragged down by Miles. Dion Miles, the 19-year-old, a local product from Borkham Hills in Sydney.
Dennis Carroll has suggested he has got one of the most impressive builds in AFL footballer for a young bloke that he's seen in a while.
Kick by Miles from 40 metres out, gets away to the right. Offline. Now down on the boundary line once again, Russell Morris.
Yes, Drew, I've got 2 Sydney personalities in the audience at the moment. I've got Darren Cutler on my right and Mike Willesee on my left. Mike, must be good for the Sydney team and also Sydney for the seconds to be in the grand final.
It's terrific for a lot of reasons. We've got a lot of young players getting great experience, and a lot of them, most of them in fact, have already got senior games under their belts, and hopefully we'll have plenty more. So we're hoping for a big finish to the season and at the same time a big start to next season with this game.
Mate, any word about the potential coach for Sydney next year? What sort of names have been bandied around at the moment?
Just what I read in the newspaper.
But can you believe what you read in the newspapers?
We'll just wait and see. I just hope he's great.
Yeah. Well, what are you happy with the seats here, right? Front row? Is that typical Mike Willesee?
It's
very low to the ground, isn't it? You're not used to this. You're usually up a bit higher.
Usually a bit higher, but it's great to be close, especially on a grand final day. And it's great to be part of the best sporting crowd in Australia.
Good on you, Mike. And Darren, it's pretty common knowledge that you're leaving the Swans and want to move to Melbourne. So what are the developments on that?
Yeah, I've just shifted back to Melbourne 3 weeks ago for family reasons, and spoken to about 4 or 5 clubs, so we'll just have to wait and see come close to December which club I'll be going to.
Who have you spoken to at the moment?
St Kilda, Collingwood, Carlton, Melbourne and Footscray at this stage, so it's just whoever offers the Swans the best deal, I think that club will take. So.
There's a bit of talk that David Grant's leaving St Kilda. Maybe there might be a direct swap for yourself and him, with Grant going to Sydney.
Yeah, well that'll be fine. I mean, I'd just be happy to keep playing AFL at the top level, so if St Kilda come up with the best deal, well then that's great.
No animosity with the Swans? You've had a good couple of years up there?
Yeah. I mean, we left on good terms, so it's just family reasons I came back. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to next season.
What, the wife, mate, putting a bit of pressure on under the thumb?
Oh, no, nothing like that. We had 4 years up there, so, I mean, we're just happy to be back.
Oh, well, good luck in the future, and thanks for talking with us. Back to you, Drew.
Thanks, Russell. Gee, he does ask the probing questions. He get knocked out one day, Russell.
By the wife.
Oh, wow. So North moving forward here, and Clarkson with a collision in the middle of the ground. Top stuff. Clarkson recovered and got in there again. And from the centre, Reynolds on the 50, Barnett. Taken off the ball by O'Loughlin. Great play by Michael O'Loughlin. Arm wrestle, and he takes Barnett to the ground, and the umpire will be forced to ball it up. Gee, that was good stuff. Dennis Carroll turning him into a defender in recent weeks, and there's that clash in the middle of the ground, and Clarkson, fortunately not hurt, was straight back into the play.
Swans by 3 points. Reynolds knocks it down into the path of Pyman. Caven heads for the boundary line. Pyman knocks it out the back of the pack. McAdam slides in, couldn't control it. O'Loughlin close to the line, pushes it across. Barnett pleads his case, nothing doing, boundary throw in.
Well, Carey's come onto the ground for Sydney. Before you get too excited, it's in fact Stephen Carey, not Wayne, although he was once in the Sydney Swans territory, but that's another story.
Ishchenko headed it back towards the boundary. Pyman goes in. And a whistle. There's Carey. They kicked 4 goals, I think, last week from memory against Essendon.
Yeah, and came off the bench and kicked them all in the second half.
Ironic if North was sunk by a Carey as the ball goes close to the boundary line. Reynolds is over it, flicks it back towards the middle. Kick comes out of defence, back towards the boundary line. Morphett throws it on the boot, gains about 20 metres. Mallon gets back. Nicely done. Gets by Arnott. Sweeping hand pass inside. Simpson couldn't control it. Arnott runs onto the loose ball. Kicks inside the 50. And Rocca's got it once more. He's booted 2 goals this afternoon. Squares it. And it's taken by Luff.
Gee, I think Rocca, from a similar distance, might have been a better chance than Luff.
Well, the short pass came unglued, as you saw. Simpson. But now Clarkson comes away. Clarkson, forward of half-back, down towards half-forward. It pitches in no man's land. Chapman runs it at hard. He's tackled, hasn't got it. Campbell dragged him down. Seymour throws himself in. Ishchenko did nicely. Contessa gets it away. Reynolds, given a fair bit of time, gets the kick away. To good effect, it's a goal.
He gave me flowers. But all men do that. He took me to the opera. But that's expected. No. I only knew he truly loved me when I asked him for the thing he cherished most. And he let me have it. But then, life's like that in a Lancer.
North by 3 points. There's hardly a breeze here. Whatever is going left to right, certainly in North's direction, but nothing to suggest that they couldn't kick a goal in the first quarter and should kick 4 in this second. O'Loughlin gets the ball across the half-back line to Scott. Scott's hand pass up to the centre of the ground, and it's taken by Carey just on the ground. Disappointing. Nichols for North. His kick also disappointing. Bounces past Freeborn, and they've got a chance to move out of defence. To centre wing. A fine mark taken over the top by Glenn Gorman, who played on grand final day a couple of years ago for the Geelong Falcons. So he might know a little bit about the atmosphere here on grand final day, last Saturday in September. Kicked by Gorman to the 50, and an excellent defensive mark is taken down there by Mooney, Jason Mooney. Rodney Eade on the phone. He coached the Brisbane Bears to a reserves flag in 1991, and I'm absolutely certain 100 to 1 on he'll have a seniors job next week. Geister for North in the goal square. Pyman offline hits the behind post for a throw-in.
Well, the Swans have got to tidy up their kicking because they've still won enough of the football to have maintained their league, but the turnovers would be really worrying both Dennis Carroll, the coach in the background, and Damien Drum, the assistant coach for the Sydney Swans.
Boundary throw in. Ishchenko knocks it down in front. Seymour, was he pushed in the back? I thought he was. The umpire didn't hand a whistle. So North have kicked 4 of the last 5 goals in this game. Sydney getting the early goal. It seemed that North were in trouble, but they've come back very well. Ishchenko again uses his body, gets under the ball, but beaten by Carey. And out of mid-air, that's something special. That's a fantastic goal by Traianidis. Falling to the ground, we talked about his soccer background. He put it to good effect there.
Well, that's just a volley into the back of the net.
Let's just see it unfold again. Well, you don't have to be here in the main to watch the main game to see some freakish things in football. A classic goal from Jason, which has given North Melbourne the lead. Extended their lead.
Ishchenko wins in the middle, but tough down underneath. Scott for the Swans. Wide to half-forward flank. Gorman can't control the ball. Ball's out of play, and we'll have a throw-in. Jason Traianidis, he took up football as a 16-year-old. Came from Shepparton United, a soccer player. And I think anybody who saw that one, they'll either draft him into AFL or a soccer team after that one. Centre of the ground. Excellent mark by Freeborn, who's been good in the seniors in late season for North. Here's Brunton. O'Loughlin for the Swans. Away to Scott, off the cricket pitch area. Well inside half forward, out towards the pocket. Geister gets back. Round the boundary line, but the wrong side of the boundary line. Well into the expensive seats. There are no cheap seats here today. And a free kick.
There's some pretty expensive ones. I was offered $1,600 for 2 tickets yesterday morning, so the going rate at the present time is pretty expensive.
Luff, a centering kick. It's fisted down in front by Mallon. They work it out once more. Geister got it across to Clarkson, to Pyman, who boots it around the outer side. Terrific grab out there by Stevens. Plays on immediately, kicking for space, coming up on the lead. Reynolds couldn't control it. And then applied a tackle to a player who didn't have the ball, so it will be a free kick on the outer side. Taken by Barry. The chip pass comes in. Caven had to wait. He earned it. Peter Caven, forward of the wing. Should finish the story. Did you sell those tickets?
Well, I did. It was very tempting. I thought I could just whip over to Fiji and watch the game live, but
exactly, you wouldn't need to come to work if you'd sold those ones.
My 2 daughters took preference.
Caven towards the pocket, and a strong grab is taken down there by Geister. He was surrounded. Geister in defence, squares it across the goal face. Clarkson has got some time right on the kickoff line, confronted, gets around McPherson. The hand pass, a looper. They work it out. Stevens to Geister, dragged off it, but it worked okay. The little topo came to Mallon. The big man decides to bounce through the centre, alongside the centre circle, kicks inside the 50. Ill-directed. Seymour comes up, takes the defensive mark, will square the ball. Intended for Chapman. They need more from him. He's taken this ball just inside half-back. O'Loughlin can take it and go. Well, extra hand pass. Seymour back to O'Loughlin, back to Seymour. They work it through the middle. Seymour inside the 50. Rocca's the target, and that's a good grab.
Gee, he's a player, isn't he?
He certainly appears to be one.
So too is O'Loughlin. His awareness in the centre has been exemplified in the last couple of passages of plays. It's just fantastic for a fellow so young.
Well, distance shouldn't be a problem. We saw him in the first term kick at a country kilometre. Let's see what he can do here.
You had a go up into that?
No, I just... Sound good. Down by 9 points, Sydney. The short one intended for Luff didn't come off. It's grabbed and snapped, and it's wide of the mark by O'Dwyer. Behind. Well, that was a poor pass. The idea wasn't bad. Rocca spotted Luff, who was clear. I know that man.
Actually, there are indications that the bit of the breeze is getting to the playing surface, and they're not as confident from 50 going to the left-hand end as they are to the right. Oh, a shocking kick in. Bumbles along the ground, but fortunately they get out of trouble. Simpson the hand pass, Pyman, Danilchenko, and floats the ball out wide. O'Dwyer up towards half forward. O'Loughlin can't take the mark. Chance for North. Is that Geister who followed up? Reynolds. Reynolds takes the mark in the forward pocket.
Well, he's had a pretty big quarter, Reynolds, particularly if he can convert on this one. Already 2 goals this quarter. And he's becoming a real headache now for Dennis Carroll. Once again, the wasted opportunities for Sydney are putting them under the pump on the scoreboard.
At the moment, an 8-point lead to North Melbourne. Not much noise behind the goals. And a miss for Crackers, Keenan Reynolds, who's kicked 2 goals, 1. He's got 2. McAdam's got 2. And for the Swans, Rocca and Crawford have 2 each.
Here's Mangan. 9 points the margin. North up. The good grab is taken by Carey. He's at half back. 5-7 plays 4-4. Carey kicks out wide. And a good mark is taken in front by Simpson. A couple of players bearing down on him. Showed good concentration. Simpson from the wing goes towards half forward. Reynolds in from the side, attempting to fist away Carey, taken by Barry. Now Scott heads for the line, and that's good enough. Traianidis, who kicked that marvellous goal out of mid-air just moments ago. One of the highlights of the game so far. One of 3 goal kickers as we take a look at the North bench. Campbell in the foreground having a drink. Ishchenko and Carey go at it. Ishchenko decisively. McPherson, though, gives it away. This is Scott. His kicking hasn't been too good today. That's a better one, at least for distance, down towards half forward. Met solidly down there was Arnott. It's built in front. Clarkson Away to Wind, who kicks inside the 50. Offhands, a chance behind for Barnett. Met solidly. Seymour feeds it back. Scott throws it on the boot. Now a chance for the Swans. They've got some time and space. This is Chapman down towards half-forward. In fact, it was Morphett who gets it to Luff. Now an opportunity for Brunton just outside the 50. Props, draws a man to him. Back to Luff. Needs an accurate kick, which this isn't. It slides across the face. Plenty of Swans there. Beautifully read by Gorman. Kept his head nicely. And the kick is centimetre perfect. Ishchenko getting down low.
Good to see it appear too.
Jason Danilchenko, one last time for the season, or are we going to give it again? Here's Morphett, 55 metres out, short pass is good, and the mark's taken by Crawford. And they have struggled from a distance about here, and he's not going for goal. Short pass straight over his teammate's head, and he's given it up to Simpson. Simpson towards the outer side. Terrific kick. Mark taken by Mark Stevens, but his hand pass is intercepted. A chance here for the Swannies. 60 metres out from goal. Crawford on the bounce. Geister applies a great tackle. Umpire said the ball was held in. And Rocca felt everything that time from Paul Geister. No mark. It was a half volley. And just the right decision. Rocca wins in ruck and gets the ball down to O'Dwyer. Carey. Stephen Carey takes the mark just inside the boundary line, and he won't be able to see daylight through the goalposts here.
Great mark from the big fellow. It's just showing great ball control and obviously got a future with the Swans.
And the kick by Carey floats across the front of goal and out of bounds.
Surprising he went the drop punt there, Drew. You would think that the boomerang or the check side, offside, backside, as Kevin Bartlett describes it, is probably the kick of choice from that position.
And if you kick them, they are a backside kick.
Correct.
It's thrown in. Pyman knocks it down. Contessa off his step, boots it towards half-back. Storming up the ground a bit at Scott, met solidly by Nichols. This is Wind. From his own defensive 50, not a good clearing kick. As a result, Sydney will bring it back in. Mooney gets it across to Rocca after Luff had stopped it. Down towards full forward. Good grab is taken by Geister. Plays on immediately. Squares the ball. In space, this is Gorman. The former Sydney Swan, delisted earlier this year. Danilchenko on the burst from half-back. Down towards half-forward. Traianidis has the ball in his path now. How will he play this? Barry is closing. And Barry did pretty well. There was some indecision from that man, and as a result, nothing good came of it for North. A boundary throw in outer side. They're up 37-28, approaching half-time in this grand final. Overcast but fine day in Melbourne. Ishchenko and Luff to go at it. Chapman down behind. They clear the zone as the kick comes towards the outer side. That was from Lang. Taken out there by Simpson, who sends it back inside the 50. Mangan goes up and knocks it down in front. Morphett swings it out wide. Luff has it. They've got a spare man on around the outer side wing. Crawford now, who's got a couple of goals, pulls it back towards the middle. Rocca committed, couldn't reach the ball though. Wind stood up in the tackle, gets the hand pass away. Clarkson on one knee. Nicely worked. This is Dwyer going down towards half forward, penetrating kick. Barnett's got it 60 metres out. Who's on? The short one is on, and it's been marked by Reynolds, who turns around, nonchalantly goes for goal. McAdam's upset. Reynolds has missed.
Well, up to 20 possessions now for Alastair Clarkson. He really has fired the Northerners in the second quarter, along with Keenan Reynolds and Robert Pyman.
Kick in by Mangan. Spoil came from behind Mooney. Simpson used his body beautifully then to win the free kick. Been an excellent player. Back to Mooney. All Swans in the centre of the ground. Luff takes the mark. Thought about the hand pass to Crawford. Goes further afield by foot. And that's perfect delivery. And the mark taken by Miles.
He's got it 50.
Gee.
Over the head of Crawford. On the bounce for Rocca. Dishes out the hand pass wide. A fumble was costly by Carey. And the umpire will ball it up.
No conviction inside their own 50, have they, Sydney? I mean,
No, they really have overused the football. Guys like Rocca, who we know can kick a long way, been intent on chipping the ball 20 metres. The cost of turnovers has been immeasurable for Sydney in the second quarter.
Well, a strange old game of football. The Swans kicked the first 4 goals of the match, and North have kicked the next 5. And so at half-time, it's a 10-point lead to North Melbourne. 5 goals, 8-38 to the Sydney Swans, 4-4-28. Goal scorers in the game, Rocca and Crawford have 2 each for the Swans. And for North Melbourne, Reynolds and McAdam have 2 each. And Traianidis has that soccer goal kick, which was a beauty. A 10-point lead to North Melbourne at half-time in the reserves grand final. Ishchenko looking to call the troops over. And there's Anthony Rocca, who kicked 2 goals in the first half. So we're not far away from the big one here later on this afternoon when Geelong take on Carlton in the seniors grand final. And earlier today, Mark Barnett was at Catland to see the Geelong players leave the ground for the city.
Well, yes, Stu, as you can see, tremendous atmosphere down here at Keenan Park as the players make their way onto the bus. For the biggest game here, good luck, Tim. Tim McGrath just making his way on the bus. Of course, he'll have a very big job tonight. The game of the year, possibly the game of their lives for many of these Geelong players, and there are plenty of fans on hand to see them arrive. The players make their way under the bus. Of course, Ken Hickley back from Winterton. Good luck, man. Gary Hocking, of course, is going to be vital in the midfield here to Geelong's chances. They'll head up the Princess Highway today to the biggest game of the year, possibly the game of their lives, under police escort.
Yes, and the players on their way, and a labour of love for Mark Barnett to be surrounded by all those Cat players down there this morning. Well, the crowd building up all the time here at the MCG. We're at half-time in the reserves. The seniors game starting at 2:30. The pre-match entertainment will be a highlight. It is the one day in September and a fantastic atmosphere building at the MCG. Half-time in the seconds. North lead the Swans by 10 points. Back soon.
2 hours to go. Coming up, Geelong and Carlton for the AFL flag.
Hello, Dean Felton in the 7 newsroom. The stage is set for this afternoon's AFL Grand Final at the MCG. Carlton fans have streamed into the ground all morning, while trains and a cavalcade of charter buses with police escorts have brought thousands of supporters en masse from Geelong. Meanwhile, no end in sight to Melbourne's garbage dispute, with more negotiations scheduled for tomorrow. The afternoon forecast, a few showers developing, currently 21 degrees.
Nobody knows Melbourne like 7.
So, what do you think? Oh, the Beijing thing. Coffee?
Yeah. Oh, no, thanks.
Well, it's big. It's a hell of a big commitment. We can do it. We have to gear up, move quick. And if we don't, you know he's going to pick it up, don't you? Yeah, I know. Look, it's a great contract. A great opportunity, but I don't know. Are we ready?
Chris, are we ready?
Mate, we're overdue. Okay. All right, but it means increasing our bank loan. You know that.
At the National, we make it our business to understand yours. So when the opportunity arrives, we can tailor a loan to make the most of it.
How does 10 o'clock tomorrow morning sound? I couldn't go. No, here. Here?
Night, Dave. Chris.
Night. Oh, Sandra. The bank will be here in the morning.
National Australia Bank. Tailoring banking to your needs.
Foster's Light Ice. For extreme refreshment on tap.
On the grass, but the ground's a bit muddy.
We recently sent an RACV insurance assessor to an address in Bayswater. Apparently, a car had been rolled. Now, this isn't all that unusual, although the assessor in question can't recall anyone else ever doing it in their backyard. Sometimes it's not easy to explain things on paper. That's why at RACV Insurance, we're all ears, not all paperwork. In fact, because we now handle claims over the phone, you won't need to fill out a claim form at all. It's just one more way RACV Insurance treat you as a member, not a number.
You can earn Qantas frequent flyer points every time you use the American Express card, simply by enrolling in the American Express Membership Rewards Program. Then every purchase you make with the card can give you frequent flyer points so you can take off on free Qantas flights sooner. To apply for the American Express card or join Membership Rewards, simply call 1-800-80-2020 now.
There's a lot going on in the world, gets busier every day. Doing your job, having a say, making your mark or just finding your way. But it's nice to know there's a place to go. At the pub. You're always right at home. At the pub. You never feel alone. At the pub. You're never on your own, 'cause it's all going on at a pub near you.
7 Sports Mark of the Year competition. You can participate until this afternoon, and this is how. Here they are.
The 7 Sports Mitsubishi Mark of the Year. Your phone vote could win you a Lancer GLX Coupe. Just dial the phone number you wish to vote for. Mark 1, Paul Kelly, Sydney. Mark 2, Dale Kickett, Fremantle. Mark 3, Gilbert McAdam, Brisbane. Mark 4, Kingsley Hunter, Fremantle. Mark 5, Sean Smith, Melbourne.
So who do you think? There are the phone numbers. You can get on the phone this afternoon and ring right through. There's no need to hurry because the lines will be open until 4 o'clock Eastern time. If you like little Sean Smith's Mark at the Gabba, 0055 606 76. It will be decided by public vote. Go for it. Well, the grand final in Melbourne is one of 2 great sporting events this weekend. Of course, Bathurst is on tomorrow, live all day on the 7 Network, and up there for 7 Sport, here's Bruce McAvaney.
Drew, a record-breaking performance here today by Craig Lowndes, the 21-year-old. In fact, Craig, I'm used to interviewing my contemporaries like Peter Brock and Dick Johnson, who are a little bit older than me. You're half my age. How can somebody at 21 be so quick around the mountain you were today?
Oh, well, no, the younger generation is starting off at an early age. I started when I was 10, and now if you ask Brock what he was doing at 10, he can sure tell you what he was doing.
Well, it's a fairy tale for you already, Bathurst. 2nd place last year. Your team was 9th on the grid. Fastest today. Tell us about your lap. You were fastest all the way around, fastest over the top of the mountain and quickest at the end.
Yeah, well, actually the telemetry shows I actually lacked a little bit of pace going up and down the hill, but across the mountain, it was great. You know, I picked up time where I hadn't picked up time before. So.
And what about tomorrow now for you?
Different ball game. Sandown, we had pole position. Unfortunately, we didn't finish the race, so we plan on finishing the race this week.
Craig, well done. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll be talking to Peter Brock a little later this afternoon. A reminder about the great race, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern time.
And Bathurst on 7 tomorrow. More from the MCG today after a short break.
It's a pink lady and she hasn't got any clothes on and she's sort of leaning back. She hasn't got any clothes on, she's leaning back on this pole, which is the lamp. It was sort of like a pink lady and she had all these drapes coming down.
You better make that 2. Foster's Light Ice for extreme refreshment.
I better sing a Satan's song. When the devil said sin, I sinned along. Oh yeah. He's a sinner and he didn't take care. The Lord's hanging on, so he done his now wrong.
Yeah, I've been a sinner and I want to confess. When it comes to oils, brother, less is less. Oh yeah. He's a sinner and she didn't take
boys and girls, the voice got commandment. Oils ain't oils.
We were slammed.
We were spleeched. We saved by Castro GTX2.
Yeah, Castro said our engines free from the devil's penitentiary.
Praise the oil.
Hallelujah.
Castro GTX2.
We fought temptation, we pulled through, protected by Castrol GTX2.
Castrol GTX2 from Castrol, the oil specialist.
Connect or switch to Telstra MobileNet before October 31st for a great deal on a mobile phone and a chance to win one of 100 holidays for two to either Cradle Mountain, Hayman Island, the Daintree Rainforest, Kakadu, New Zealand, or Cable Beach, Flying Ansett. For great deals and great escapes, there's never been a better time to connect.
Guess where we're going?
So, see your approved Telstra MobileNet dealer today.
Nissan Maxima's unique multi-link beam suspension provides superb ride and handling. The very clever Nissan Maxima. Just wait till you drive it.
Well, recent bus trips from Geelong on Grand Final day have ended in despair because they've lost 3 times in the last 6 years in Grand Finals. But I think their hearts have been filled with hope this time, and there are the players as they make their way to the ground for Grand Final day 1995. Will their fortunes turn around? Well, for everybody in the city of Geelong, let's hope so. But of course, Carlton have been the best side all year and lost just 2 games, and of course won the minor premiership. It's perfect here at the MCG. I reckon it's a day made in heaven, but to just put his final stamp on what he reckons, here's our weather expert David Brown.
Thanks, Drew. Well, yes, it looks okay. Good news for the grand final today. It looks like we won't get any rain. We can confirm that by having a look at the latest vision from our weather radar as we run that sequence. As you can see, just some very faint blue patches around the Melbourne area, but basically no rain here at the G. And as we look down to the south from the Great Southern Stand, I can see some distant rain, but it's evaporating before it hits the ground. So here at the MCG, a fine, warm day for the battle between the Blues and Geelong. Getting up to around 22 degrees. As you can see, a lot of enthusiastic people here, Drew. Currently 21 degrees. Back to you.
Good on you, David. I've seen you mobbed like that when you go around visiting schools talking weather to them, but a bit different here on Grand Final day, and great to see you part of the action here. Well, of course, we saw the Geelong players getting on the bus and making their way to the MCG for Grand Final day. Once again, the city of Geelong is full of colour and bunting for the Grand Final. They hope it's going to be their year this year.
Geelong and its population of 150,000 lies an hour's drive from Melbourne, nestled into the banks of Port Phillip Bay. But in the world of football, Geelong is as far removed as Perth, Adelaide or Fremantle. In Grand Final week, Neville Brunn's souvenir shop can't keep up with the cat attack. Bruns has been involved in all 4 Geelong Grand Final campaigns of recent years as a rugged wingman in 89 and 92, a board member in 94 and chairman of selectors this time around. He said the 95 final type didn't seem as overbearing.
People are probably a bit more controlled, and I think now the supporters are at the stage where, second won't do. We've got to win.
Local newspaper editor Daryl McClure agreed.
I think Gary Ayres will be quite happy. He sort of wants it laid back and low-key, and looks as though the whole community's going along with it.
There were some decorations and eccentrics in town, but basically, the lid appeared to be on.
Well, just tell us who's going to win the grand final and why.
Carlton, because of the better side.
But while the streets were quiet, at Cardinia Park, the Cats' home ground, finals fever was contagious. Almost 20,000 fans watched Geelong's last training session, all desperate to be part of the ultimate after-match celebration.
I live in Melbourne. I'll come down to Geelong for the weekend.
Party all weekend. I won't be at work Monday.
Have a party, scream and be so excited.
Brad Scholl, one of 4 grand final debutantes, said the atmosphere generated by the crowd was hard to ignore.
I don't usually think we're going till Saturday, but this week might be a bit different.
If the Cats do hit the jackpot at the MCG, Geelong's economy will be millions of dollars better off.
Not if, when. Then we'd be looking at upwards of $15 million.
Yes, will Geelong ever be the same if they can break their 32-year premiership drought today? Well, down in the Carlton rooms here at the MCG, there's Stephen Kernahan, meditating, thinking about it before the game. He was captain of the Blues when they won in 1987, when Robert Walls was their coach. A quiet moment for Stephen Kernahan before he goes out for the big one. It's half-time in the reserves, about to restart for the second half, and we'll be back soon.
Big sporting weekend continues tomorrow when the mountain comes alive for Bathurst 95, only on 7. The 7 Sport Mitsubishi Mark of the Year. Your phone vote could win you a Lancer GLX Coupe. Just dial the phone number you wish to vote for. Mark 1, Paul Kelly, Sydney. Mark 2, Dale Kickett, Fremantle. Mark 3, Gilbert McAdam, Brisbane. Mark 4, Kingsley Hunter, Fremantle. Mark 5, Sean Smith, Melbourne.
Foster's Light Ice. For extreme refreshment on tap.
When my father died, he left me some money. Not a lot, but enough to set myself up. He worked so hard for it, I didn't want to risk it. Because Dad always wanted me to be secure. I knew I had to invest it, otherwise it'd just get frittered away, but what? I was going to put it in a term deposit, and then I thought I could do better. AMP Financial Services taught me a lot. I ended up choosing a range of investments because when you don't rely on just one type of investment, you reduce the risk. My investment plan has put my money to work without tying it all up for a long time.
To talk to AMP Financial Services about your future, call 1-800-800-882.
Lantra. From $22,990, it'll get your motor running.
See you later!
I'll see you. Brad, you've had a few minutes, so maybe I should drive, huh? What do you reckon?
No, I'm all right.
No. Look, man, I'll drive. Here. Get in the car. You shouldn't be driving. Yeah, it's okay. Hey, Joey. Come on. What's this? Hey, cut it out! Pull over now! Please!
Joey, I killed my brother.
Sunday, 7's the one for fun.
I don't think so, Al.
At 6:30, the best parrot show on earth. Dr. Harry's Pet Tips and win a great Barrier Reef holiday. At 7:30 in Home Improvement, Tim plays sidekick to the Master Chef.
Tim doesn't know Gumbo from Dumbo Taylor.
Then join Andrew Daddo for world's greatest commercials and the craziest special effects ever.
You're kidding, right?
From a one-shack basketball team to the miracle pizza delivery.
Welcome back to the MCG on Grand Final Day. Well, Johnny Barnes, who'll be playing in the ruck in the big one against Harry Madden, didn't come to the ground by bus. He drove himself. Here he is with Jim Wilson.
G'day, Barnesy. How are you, mate? How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, pretty good, actually. Oh, magic. Yeah, all week I slept pretty well.
Vegemite for breakfast?
No, I had the baked beans, mate.
Did you?
Yeah, a bit of energy, I reckon, so I had to go on it. Yeah,
You comfortable?
yeah, very.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's safe, thanks, mate.
Good stuff.
Yeah, pretty
How'd you
good.
sleep, mate?
Yeah, really good, actually.
You always sleep good on the grand final eve, don't you?
Yeah, for some reason. I don't know why, mate. No, it's just good. Good to get a good bloody 9, 10 hours sleep. It was great, mate.
Good on you, mate.
No,
Have a good one. Thanks, mate.
Laid-back character from Cobram, John Barnes. And there's Tim McGrath watching on as the North reserves, and Tim McGrath used to be a North Melbourne player, and he's getting ready for the big one for Geelong here this afternoon. So the reserves continues. We start the second half, North Melbourne leading by 10 points. This game still could go either way, and a very poor bounce grabbed by McPherson of the Swans. He comes out very wide, only to centre wing, and a bit of a fumble there. Wind, Mallon, Nichols running into a collision. Brunton, a little hand pass up for Crawford. The Swans inside the 50. Most of the scoring's been done at this right-hand end of the ground, and a bit of a steadier down there, but a disappointing kick way offline by Chris O'Dwyer, and he brings up a behind. He had enough time, probably should have kicked the goal there.
Interesting, Troy Luff has gone to centre-half back. There's Mallon on the phone. Off the ground pretty quickly as we wait for the kick in. Greg Williams. As the kick comes in towards the members' side, Pyman was up, missed it. Traianidis goes down towards half forward. Not a bad kick either. O'Loughlin got his hand to it. Seymour arrives in the nick of time and knocks it across the boundary line. So the Swans could do with some early goals in this third term. They're down by 9 points. There's their bench. Boundary throw in about 60 metres out from North's attacking goal. Ishchenko's in front and wins it down. Clarkson got a hand to it, couldn't control it. Knocked towards the boundary line and across eventually by Robert Pyman. Barry was there with him, and initially Chapman was playing the ball. Pyman's seen a fair bit of the ball this afternoon. Started brilliantly. Boundary throw in once more. Ishchenko's in front. Stafford works his way in front. It comes down to Contessa, who took a while. Luff intercepted the hand pass, floats it through the wing towards half forward. Going back with courage down there was Simpson. He couldn't hang on. Now Miles feeds it across to Chapman, who storms through the centre, kicks inside the 50, intended for Rocca. Geister knocked it away. Trying to crash his way through with Scott. Rocca to his own advantage. He's in the pocket. He lines up at his third, and he's kicked it.
I may be a small businessman, but I'm not short on common sense. In fact, lately, I've got WISE. WISE is the work cover subsidy scheme that helps injured workers get back to work. They're keen to get back and ready to go. And WISE gives you almost $15,000 towards their first year's pay. It's a big offer. And let me tell you, it's a big help.
Phone 9810 6396.
If you need some extra hands, get WISE.
And back in the middle, and Ishchenko wins. Clarkson, the dominant player in the game. Kicks to full forward. McAdam, good hands. And Adrian McAdam takes the mark and will be lining up for his third goal. Now, we haven't seen too many goals. In fact, just one for the entire game at this left-hand end. North were goalless going this way in the first quarter. Paul Couch watches on with Peter Riccardi, Aaron Lord, David Mensch over on the left-hand side. Couchy's been there for 3 grand finals previously. Can number 4 be a success? McAdam, who kicked 23 goals in his first 3 league games 2 years ago, has been a reserves player just about ever since. An amazing start. 35 metres out, gets the goal. Now here's Kate Payton.
It's one of the greatest events in Australian sport, and today's grand final will be seen by around 8 million people within Australia. It'll also go to an estimated viewing audience of around 47 million around the world in about 60 different countries. And it's all thanks to the hard work of the 247 people here today working on our grand final coverage. And this is the epicentre. Inside this little caravan, the director sits and coordinates 25 different cameras. They're dotted around the ground, in the rooms, even up in a helicopter to make sure you don't miss a beat. And the men who'll be calling the match, Ian Robertson, Sandy Roberts and Malcolm Blight, will be sitting right here to call the game. So if you weren't lucky enough to get a ticket, it's not necessarily such a bad thing. Sit back, relax at home, you've got the best seat in the house.
Margin 9 points in the reserves grand final. That's Peter Caven. His side is down. Time remaining till three-quarter time, so a boundary throw it on the outer side. And again, the big men go at it, as they've done for the best part of the day. This is McPherson off hands. Off the heel, it comes backwards towards Dwyer. Was he taken high? No. Nichols in trouble. McPherson breaks away from the congestion, storms back towards the half-back flank and kicks through the centre. Good grab taken in front by Miles, hit the ground running. Chapman, who's been a star in the finals, kicks out wide towards right half forward. Now North have got the numbers. Mooney had the position initially, but now Danilchenko knocks it out, looking for support. Geister dragged off it. Mooney comes back, did well, got it to Barry, shrugs a tackle. He's 60 metres out, puts it high. They come from all directions. Rocca got fingertips to it. Bomford dragged Freeborn down. He didn't have the ball. Danilchenko went in. In goes Simpson. He's claimed from behind. Rocca got him. And a bounce. About 35 metres out from the Swans' attacking goal. Anthony Rocca, 3 goals this afternoon. Can they make something of this? 6-8-5-5. Rocca backhands it down. Freeborn trapped it initially. Clarkson out of the congestion out wide. Dwyer leads in the race. Luff favoured by the bounce. It came back to him. Now an opportunity. McPherson on the point of the square down towards half forward. He started well, has drifted out of the game. Daniel McPherson has played a handful of league games now. They've struck some snags from about this point in. What will he do? He compromises. He goes for distance. Not bad policy, really. Off hands, an opportunity down there. Stevens smothered off the boot. It wobbles out wide. And they'll bring it away as Wine gives it to Clarkson. Clarkson runs up through midfield. Now has had a bounce. Kicks inside the 50. McAdam judged it brilliantly off the boot. In stark contrast to Mangan. And now McAdam, a chance to kick yet another goal. That will be his 4th. John Longmire, a man who knows all about kicking goals for North Melbourne, not exactly looking on. Yeah. So McAdam.
Just great use of the short step there by Adrian McAdam. Just interrupted Mangan's run at the ball, and he knew when to change speed and go directly at it.
He kicked 7 goals on debut. The league team on this ground against Richmond. What's he done here? Has he got his 4th? It's not a bad effort. He has.
Foster's Light Ice. For extreme refreshment on tap.
You can only do that in a van you can walk through. The new Mitsubishi Express walk-through van.
McAdam has kicked 4 goals. There has been a change with Brad Seymour going back onto him. Mangan taken away from McAdam, who is a danger man. He kicked 4 in the second semi and has repeated the dose in the grand final. Rocca gets the hand pass back. Simpson hit it very hard for North. It bounces in the cricket pitch area. Good trap by Stafford. The ruckman goes for a long kick. Big chance here at the back. Scott. With him is Freeborn. Scott keeps the ball in, but it's all North Melbourne. Clarkson's just everywhere. He gets the hand pass back to a teammate, and they work out of defence through Gorman up towards centre of the ground. Oh, excellent mark taken by Barnett. Ball's gone up quickly to the forward line, and O'Dwyer marks inside the 50 in between half forward flank and forward pocket.
I'm not sure what happened there with the umpire, but there's no way known he could pay advantage from the mark. He did pay the mark, so I think the Swans players stopped, anticipating him going back.
We hear that there's some rumour of a doubt about Ken Hinkley with his back injury. Have to wait on that one. And there's the kick across the front of goal. Still there for North. McPherson, and the ball's over the line. And it's a North Melbourne free kick. Not sure what that free kick was for, but anyway, a North Melbourne free kick here to Traianidis in the forward pocket. Fraser Brown there with Brett Ratton. A short pass in, and Trent Nichols has taken the mark about 45 metres out from goal. Further away from goal than Traianidis was, but he's certainly improved the angle. Brown under some injury cloud during the week, and he's had decompression chamber treatment and all sorts of things to get him ready for the grand final. They picked him, but I suppose we can't absolutely guarantee he'll play until they run out. Nichols off the left. Kick looks pretty good. A goal.
Just as the Sydney Swans came back, North Melbourne have careered away, and there's a couple of fellows that really have got the job in front of them the next 2 hours. Gary Ayres, the coach in his first season, assisted by Jeff Geishan. And John Barnes, what sort of role will he play today? One gets the feeling that if he can dominate in the middle, the flag could go down to Geelong.
So North by 21 points. Pyman digs it out of the middle, down towards half forward. Barnett, quick hands, too quick, says the umpire. Intended for Traianidis. And the kick will be taken by Sydney at centre half back. Well, Lachlan to take it, and Sydney in trouble now. Bearing in mind they were 3-1 at quarter time. They got the first goal of the second term, so goals have been few and far between. O'Loughlin comes out wide. Miles does well in front. Paid the mark. He's right on the wing. Caven wants it down the ground. And he's got it now. 60 metres out from goal. Peter Caven. Rocca should be the target. Rocca moves towards the pocket. Geister's got the run on him. Rocca goes back, off hands are behind. Not the ideal spot. Rocca headed towards the pocket. Had he taken the mark, still left himself with a sharp angle, but he's got to be the man. Sydney a point closer. Freeborn to bring it in. Members side intended for Ishchenko. Miles read it best off the boot, but dropped the mark. Ishchenko knocks it forward, taken by Gorman. Traianidis kicks it down towards half forward. Coming across on the angle is Brutton. He's got support in Luff and found him. That was a good hand pass. Luff didn't have to break stride. Goes in short to Mooney. Forward of the centre line, Mooney unloads. Not a particularly good kick. Some indecision down there. Geister was coming up. Reynolds going back. Rocca pushed off it by Geister. He's surrounded down there by Kangaroos. Freeborn's got it. Danilchenko comes away. Heads around the boundary on the bounce. Clarkson has it. The defensive side of the wing only just. Not a particularly good kick. It bounces out of bounds. Well, some indecision down there by a couple of North defenders, but they got out of it. And now boundary throw in right half forward for North.
I reckon Anthony Rocca would have been justified in saying that a cull of Kangaroos was on the cards then.
And on him.
Pyman, big leap over the top. Brunton, been pretty quiet today, Neil Brunton. Caven backs into the opposition. Scrappy out on the southern stand wing. Robert Pyman eventually over his shoulder, and Stafford gets back. Should have taken that mark. Dwyer gets the hand pass into Clarkson. Clarkson inside the 50, and Mark Stevens takes the mark 35 metres from goal.
Dangerous signs here now for Sydney. North Melbourne's experience is starting to tell. They're using the ball far better than the Swans. Better system in the inside 50, North Melbourne. Whereas Sydney continue to bomb the ball down to usually their opposition targets.
Mark Stevens recruited from Hayfield and Gippsland Power into North Melbourne. Kicked 10 goals in his first 4 games in the league side this year. That's across the face of goal for a point.
Still, they stretch their lead. 57 to 36 now. Just over 10 minutes till three-quarter time. Mangan is lit dangerously on the kickoffs. Goes in short and finds Chapman. He's up towards half-back. Chapman. Kicks high towards the centre, showing the judgment waiting down behind and taking the clever mark. North, Morphett wants to play on. He's dragged down, knocks it forward. McPherson in trouble, holding the ball, says the umpire. And Reynolds to get the free alongside the circle. North really gaining the upper hand now. Short one to Clarkson. Nicely by Caven. He's about 75 metres out. Kicks down towards the pocket. Stevens the leap, but a better recovery. Gets back onto the ball. Grubbers it. Goalwood and gets it.
There's a lot going on in the world. Gets busier every day. Doing your job, having a say, taking your mark or just finding your way. But it's nice to know there's a place to go. At the pub. You're always right at home. At the pub. You never feel alone. At the pub. You're never on your own. 'Cause it's all going on at a pub near you.
We're live in the Carlton rooms, and Stephen Kernahan having a bit of a kick, the skipper, and a hand pass to himself. And even though you've been there plenty of times before, no doubt there'd be nerves before the big game. They've been so good all year, lost only twice during the year, to St Kilda and Sydney, of all people.
In consecutive weeks.
So we're back in the reserves grand final, and it's North 9-9. They've kicked 9 of the last 10 goals to Sydney 5 goals 6. So the Swans need to finish off this quarter better than they're going at the moment. O'Loughlin gets the hand pass away. Brunton shares it with him. Chapman running past. Through halfback. Over the wing. And too long for Rocca. Freeborn attacks it very hard. Great gather on the half volley. Into Nichols. North Melbourne finding some big gaps in the Swans now. Up in the centre of the ground, and Contessa. McAdam caught behind. And Seymour takes it away. Seymour for the Swans. And the mark taken the centre of the ground by O'Dwyer. Now Caven, wide for Rocca, who's playing well up the ground, and brought Geister up with him. 2 kicks to goal from there. Centering kick, and it gets to the back of a bit of a pack here. Chance for Bomford for the Swans. He balks the hand pass, puts the ball out wide. Chance for Barry. Half breaks a tackle. Ball's knocked back by McPherson. Outside 50. Good pick up Stafford. And he lifted the elbow and went through. Barry, left footer. It's right there. And I think that could... Oh, I was going to call it a goal off Crawford, but it's been given a behind.
Dennis Carroll can sense this one perhaps slipping away. This is Dwyer, hard against the line. Hugs the boundary with a kick. Reynolds in front of Luff, claims the mark. And a handy player. Kicks towards the wing. Intended for Mallon. And now an opportunity coming away as Stevens draws a man, pops it over the top to his namesake. About 55 metres out, the man who kicked the last goal is off target and behind. Danny Stevens giving it across to Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens, a wayward kick. Rodney Eade, dual premiership player with the Hawks. These players now just waiting for their moment. Brad Scholl signing a couple of autographs. McPherson, meantime, has got problems out in the ground. He's wrestled down. Keenan Reynolds got him, and a ball up. 9-10 plays 5-7, so North Melbourne in control. Bearing in mind they trail by 13 points at quarter time. Always a great sight. The MCG on grand final day. Ball inside the 50 now. Caven runs onto it. He's tried hard. Swings it out wide. Miles will need to stretch it. Pitches in front of him. Still he goes. Well played. Knocks it over the top. Now an opportunity. They work it. This is Arnott running down through half forward. Only his second kick of the day. Chips it in short, and Rocca's got it. They need a couple of him. He's out at centre half forward now. Thought about playing on.
Just go back and kick it.
Yes, he'll kick from about 55, so he could put it to the square. They need somebody down there to take a mark, but there's been so much indecision from the Swans around this area. Now off the ball, there's a free kick going to North. Simpson was put down. It will be taken by the man standing the mark because Simpson was about 30 metres closer to Sydney's goal. So that's a novel way of losing the ball. took long enough for the kick to be taken, and then right at the death knock they lost it. Contessa goes down towards half forward. Dwyer's up in front. It's knocked away by Luff, who shows good recovery skills. Gets back onto it, dragged off it. Not his intention, but it will do. Scott moves the ball quickly. This is McPherson, chips it to the middle. Now Brunton can take it and go. Kicks inside the 50, and they have a chance. This is Crawford. He's got a couple. Justin Crawford. It'll take a good kick from here. He goes for home. Mooney should mark, doesn't need to. It's a goal.
It's one of the major causes of sinus cancer.
Is by the time the patients know they've got a tumour,
the dangers of home improvements.
The tumours are quite advanced.
And the prevention.
And make sure you have some breathing apparatus.
On 7 Nightly News, Monday at 6.
Thursday, the show where no one's safe.
We got Michael Jackson before the surgery here.
And nothing's sacred.
Give us a chance.
Who'll be in the firing line this week?
Big cow.
All new laughs. Australia's funniest hour. Full frontal Thursday on 7.
21 points the margin. So the Swans still close enough. A hurried kick out of the middle. Fortunately goes the Swans' way. Brunton had it twice. Goes out wide, and Freeborn takes a good mark on Crawford. And gets round him. Kick by Freeborn, short of centre wing. Brunton up to knock the ball to his own advantage, and eventually out of bounds, a throw-in. Down towards half-forward. Stephen Silvani, All-Australian fullback, named a couple of weeks ago. All quiet in the Carlton dressing room prior to the big one. Geister in ruck. And fancy being caught in a Rocca tackle. You'd feel that one. He is a big boy for an 18-year-old.
It's interesting the different preparations. We've seen already Stephen Kernahan strip, bouncing the ball. And other players out signing autographs, others reflecting. Each to his own on grand final build-up.
Scott tried to go through, went without the ball. Nichols for North. Little short pass, and Barnett takes the mark. Fires out the hand pass. Stevens. Kick by Danny Stevens to centre half forward. Seymour concedes some ground. Caven did well to shrug the tackle. Straight up the middle, and plenty of space here for the Swans. Chapman. He's got Crawford. That is a 30-metre hand pass. Crawford on the run, approaches 50. Goes long. O'Loughlin's been moved forward, and the mark is taken by Mooney. So two defenders, O'Loughlin and Mooney, have become forwards. Dennis Carroll switching the side around. They kicked the last goal. They're within 21 points, and another one here with 4.5 minutes to three-quarter time would give them a chance. And 2 weeks ago in the second semi, a couple of times they came from 3 or 4 goals behind North. Oh, it's close to the goalpost, but a goal. Mooney's first score, and the margin 15 points.
Well, there'll be lots of Sydney Swan supporters clustered round television sets all around Sydney. I know of one particular group in Lugano that have, Val and Tom have just come out of hospital, and they'll be very excited about the possibilities of a Sydney comeback here, as we see Brad Pearce just getting that left thigh rubbed down. And that leg alone could decide the outcome of this afternoon's game.
Margin 15 points. Stafford, clean possession, then lost it. Mallon couldn't control it. Stafford thumps it forward, down towards half forward for the Swans. They lead in all directions to the ball, but Miles overran it. Rocca tried to come out backwards, but left it behind, and now a whistle. So bounce in the true centre half forward position. As Contessa picks himself up at the base of all of that.
Miles overran it by kilometres.
The changes do appear to be working for Sydney. They just seem to be a little bit better organised.
Rocca very high, thumps it to the advantage of Morphett. He's well inside the 50. Pulls it back, a little floater. Can Mooney get there? Yes, he can. On his chest, hard against the boundary line. Now he's a left footer, so this is an awkward spot for him. Will he pull it back to the middle? Chapman is unmarked. Might go for something of a reverse nature here. Let's see. right against the fence. Could get electrocuted there. Mooney kicks hard through the ball. That's a magnificent kick.
Tonight on 7, witness television's toughest sport as Gladiators moves to the earlier time of 6:30.
The Gladiators are going for the challenges.
The latest in footy and after-match analysis of the 95 Grand Final as Sandy Roberts hosts the final episode of Talking Footy live at 7:30. Then at 8:30.
Superman!
Gene Hackman and Christopher Reeve in Superman 4.
Destroy and dance on his grave.
A stunning action-packed lineup tonight from 6:30 on 7.
Back in the middle, and the Swans are making a charge back at North Melbourne. Pyman's kick. Good tackle by Stevens on Scott, and the umpire will ball it up. So all of a sudden the margin is 9 points. And Tim Scott felt that one. Banged down hard on the cricket pitch area, just short of a length. Hooked up the ground by Mallon, outside the centre square. Contessa's hand pass out wide. Stevens goes off the ground and close to the line. Campbell, good pick up one-handed. Gets the hand pass away. McAdam grabbed when he didn't have the ball. Free kick to McAdam.
Yeah, Damien Lang just not releasing McAdam there. And Lang's another one who's got plenty of ability, but has stagnated somewhat in his progression this season. He's going to have to do a lot more physically hard work to get himself fit enough for senior football. There's the cranium, the bald man of football. And he would be expecting a pretty tight tussle on the wing, perhaps on a Riccardi, or maybe even Aaron Lord.
Long run up for Adrian McAdam. 55 metres out. Oh, it's into orbit, but offline. And a behind. So the margin is 10 points here in the third quarter with 1.5 minutes to three-quarter time of the reserves grand final.
Gary Ablett. Very shortly he'll be centre stage. Mangan kicks in. Sydney have done well to work their way back into this, but they can't concede a goal here. Very vital time in the context of the game as Stevens comes away from right on the 50. Goes for goal. It's offline, so the Malays that struck them early in the game when they kicked inaccurately, 6 behinds before their first goal, is back. 9-12, 8-7. They can't put Sydney away. Peter Riccardi. The waiting almost over now. Meantime, Mangan kicks towards the outer side. In from the side, Simpson got a fist on it. It falls behind though, and around the outer side, Lang gets the hand pass off. Advantage is paid. This is Morphett from about 60 metres. O'Loughlin. He grabbed a few goals in the senior side earlier in the season.
Well, he kicked 4 against Carlton, and that won him the nomination for the Norwich Rising Star. That's against the best defence in the league.
Very important kick, this one, inside the last minute of the term, and he's missed it. Anthony Koutafidis, one of the men you suspect Geelong will find hard to match up this afternoon. Ishchenko, meantime, has kicked off. Knocked down by McPherson. Geister roving the pack. Wobbles it down towards half forward. Reynolds works his way in front. Knocks it North's way. Seymour gets back onto the ball. Loops the hand pass away to Brunton. We're down to 20 seconds. Brunton comes out wide. McPherson, man on down the ground. They need to move it quickly over the head of Crawford, though. And sliding in behind, Wind takes the mark on his chest. So this will just about do it. With three-quarter time, North will turn for home with a lead. Luff, a big leap. Stevens gets back onto it. And now Traianidis pulls it back towards the middle on the siren. So a lucky break for Sydney as North were headed goalward. Three-quarter time in the reserves grand final. And the margin is 10 points. It got over 20 in that term, but they've come back strongly, Sydney. So Rodney Eade, as he comes down the steps, knows it's not quite over. Still some work to be done by his boys, although North Melbourne lead 9-12 to Sydney's 8-8 at the NCG.
Sporting weekend continues tomorrow when the mountain comes alive for Bathurst 95, only on 7.
On May 19, 1995, an RACV insurance assessor went to see burglary victims in Broadmeadows. He got there to find the usual electrical goods had been stolen, along with every last stitch of the family's clothing. So our assessor wrote them a cheque there and then for $1,000, just to cover them till their claim was settled. He then organised a new microwave to be delivered that afternoon to warm the baby's food. We entrust our home assessors with chequebooks because we know you'd rather be given a cheque than the runaround. It's just one more way RACV Insurance treat you as a member, not a number.
What about the pictures?
After your first cup, every coffee top-up is free because old-fashioned value is nothing new at McDonald's.
Hello?
Can't shift it. Hang on, mate.
Keep him back.
Right, get back. Hope you know what you're doing.
Go.
Keen G. Any tougher, they'd rust.
The special edition Jeep Cherokee Classic features all the luxuries that you'd expect from Jeep, plus a few extra, such as a 6-stacker CD player, 30 CDs of your choice from Brashers, and more, all at no extra cost. But remember, it is a special edition, and a classic model like this is sure to be a hit.
Welcome to your first BNS ball, James.
Get it in ya!
Let's get a cold drink, Tom. Excuse me. 2 very long glasses of ice cold milk, please, mate.
Hi, my name's Tom. What's yours?
Sarah, you really like your milk, don't you?
One big glass keeps me going all night.
Oh, really? Jane.
Tom.
Milk. Are you getting enough?
Just 1 hour to go. Geelong and Carlton coming up in the 1995 AFL Grand Final.
Quarter to go in the reserves grand final. Dennis Carroll with the Swans and Rodney Eade out there with North Melbourne. Well, in the seniors, could Gary Ayres possibly win a flag in his first year as a senior coach? Well, we'll find out later on this afternoon. Let's meet his wife Jackie. Here she is with Kate Payton.
Well, it's the biggest day of Gary Ayres' short coaching career at Geelong. It's also a very big day for the First Lady of the football club, Jackie Ayres. And you'd imagine she'd be doing all sorts of exciting, exotic things on a day like today, but in fact we tracked her down in the car. Jackie, hello. Hey, Jackie, what are you doing sitting in the car park?
Well, we get here so early, I've had to sort of just sit and read a magazine while Gary goes up ahead of me.
So you drove in together, and how was he on the trip in?
Oh, not too bad. Yes, he was about the same as he normally is, quiet. He doesn't say too much.
Well, you've had so much experience. Have you noticed any major difference between Gary when he was a player and now as a coach?
Oh, Probably not that much. I'd like to say there is, but no, he's pretty good actually. He's been about the same.
So what does that mean? Does he sleep well? Does he eat? Is he chatty or not talkative at all?
He eats okay. Sleeps well. Of course, everybody else doesn't get any sleep. We all sort of have the sleepless nights for him. But I've always been amazed, even after all the years we've been married, that he can sleep. Amazing. And I lie awake, probably going over the team.
Now tell me, I know you are his biggest fan and you'd love, Geelong to win for him, but by how much? What do you think?
Oh, I just want them to win. It doesn't matter a point, anything, just win, please.
All quiet down there in the car park, but it's pretty lively out here at the back of the grandstand with the fans arriving for the grand final, many with reserved tickets, so they might leave their rush until even later than this. Now, let's go to Russell Morris.
Yes, Drew, very interesting result today. Not just the players that have a vested interest in the result, there's also Rodney, Eade and Dennis Carroll, because obviously Eade is looking for a senior position. There's also Dennis Carroll looking for that senior coaching position, so there's going to be a lot at stake in the next 30 minutes, Drew.
Yep, I'll say, both with jobs next week on the line, and well, actually I believe that Rodney Eade might have his hat in the ring for 3 jobs. Fitzroy, Sydney and Brisbane. There's David Parkin, who'll coach the Blues today in the big one. So the margin 10 points, the same as it was at half-time, so it was a dead level third quarter, 4 goals, 4 apiece. We're underway for the final term, and it's knocked out of the middle by Contessa. Down goes Reynolds. And Dwyer fighting hard for the ball just inside the 50, and we'll have a ball up. Anthony Dwyer, his brother played at North, his father played at North, and his brother actually, David Dwyer, is working in Sydney for the Sydney Swans. So it's an interesting family conflict of interest today. Ball close to the boundary line and out of bounds.
9-12, 8-8. Swans bench. This game's still very much in the balance. The breeze not really a factor. What there is going North's way. Contessa at the base of all of that. Pyman comes over the top, claiming a free rather optimistically. And a bounce. The Swans could do with the first goal here. Very important. Who kicks that? Have a great chance of winning this game. If the Swans can gather some momentum, they're not out of it. They fell off the pace, but they came back strongly in that last term as Scott heads for the boundary. Pyman can't keep it in, so it'll be thrown in once more. Gary Ablett once more.
Could he turn it on today like he did in '89?
Well, his last couple have been disappointing. He'd love to, I'm sure. Maybe freshened up by that injury. Missed some games. So a bounce midway between the wing and right half forward for North.
That is the
Melbourne
official number 5. I reckon there have been 8,000 number 5s outside the ground and coming into the ground today.
Well, Melbourne by 10 points. Ball spills wide. Clarkson, quick hands. Too quick. As a result, it came back to him almost as quickly. And now Caven liked his game. He kicks inside the 50. Geister is down there working against Rocca. Danilchenko on the overlap. Well done. Gets it back from wide. Hand passes over the top and releases Freeborn, who spent some time on the bench today. He runs up towards the middle. Probing kick inside the 50. Sydney lead in all directions. Seymour, he lost it. McAdam a half chance, still he battles after it. Luff going to the ground, look for Mangan. Brilliantly picked up by Stevens. He's 35 metres out. Terrible kick though. Caven, well, he let it bounce. May have been better advised to try and mark that one. He had some support. Now Stevens not happy. Mark Stevens, obviously a teammate said something about his release of the ball.
Brewer getting ready for the big one. Here's North Melbourne. Solid body work there, just outside the 50 North. Reynolds keeps the ball in. Dwyer bundled over the boundary line. It's pretty tight in here. The hand pass back to Barnett. He snaps for goal, but hooks it for a point. John Barnett, 2 behinds today. played in the beaten reserves grand final team last year. North have lost the last 2 grand finals in reserves, but not when Rodney Eade was coach. John Law.
Seymour kicks in, out towards Stafford, but he's outnumbered. Aided by the bounce, he won it. Well played by the big man to Brunton. A looping hand pass over the top. Luff wants a fair bit of time. As a result, affected the kick. A man got to him, Ishchenko. Robbed Crawford of the ball. Hand passes about 10 metres. And now Nichols kept it in front nicely. The former Tiger and Eagle gains about 15 metres. With intent, though, he grubbed the ball across to Pyman, who offers step kicks it very high. They'll contest just outside the 50. Caven got his fingertips to it. Seymour tried to knock it forward. This is Clarkson, like a cook in the ocean, up to his feet, and he pulls it back towards the middle. And a great mark is taken by Chapman. That was a terrific mark, going into a lot of heavy traffic. He passes the ball to Caven. Can Sydney muster something here? Caven across half-back. Kicks through midfield. Off hands. A loose ball behind. Now there's a chance for them. This is Lang. Still Lang. Mooney played it pretty well, contesting that mark to knock it onto Lang's advantage. He goes looking for O'Loughlin, but weight of numbers tells the story. Although that's not a very good effort from Stevens, who puts it out of bounds on the full.
Good you trotted out your couple of favourites on grand final day in the last game of the season.
Well,
on you, Dan.
They're in surplus for the season. I just had a couple left.
They'd be stocking up over some.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. That's a beautiful pass and a lead which is pretty wide out towards the pocket. But, well, he had a purple patch in the third quarter, and here he is again, Jason Mooney. He kicked a couple in the space of 90 seconds in the third quarter. And if he can get his third here, bearing in mind that he hasn't been on the forward line for more than about 20 minutes, he could really give the Swans a lift. 15.5 minutes to go in the grand final. Oh, the kick just across the face of goal. Still in the field of play. It's still there. Crawford! I think he might have kicked it. Oh, just offline. So Justin Crawford has kicked 3 goals too.
Smart play by the youngster, though. O'Loughlin to punch the ball back into play. Peter Dean, one of the most experienced Carlton players, just looks on. He'll be getting his head right for something he's been looking forward to for some years.
Freeborn, straight down the middle. Mangan runs onto the loose ball, gets it away. Under pressure, Barry throws it on the boot. Scott outmarked Chapman, feeds it across to Brunton. The short one comes to Luff. Now he's only about 60 metres out from goal. Lead is on, and he goes in short and finds Bomford, who will kick from inside the 50. So Sydney coming again. They will not go away. They're down by 10 points. That was the margin at half-time and at three-quarter time. Goals have been scarce at this end. No real reason for it. Bomford. They need a straight kick, Sydney. Has it got the carry? Has it got the accuracy? Yes and no. So behind, they creep closer. It's down to single digits now.
Yes, and we've been playing 7 minutes in this last quarter, and there have been no goals whatsoever. So Sydney haven't been able to really narrow the gap, but importantly, they haven't let North get away either. Here's Nichols in a bit of trouble. Just gets the hand pass away. It's only 30 metres from goal. It spills to O'Loughlin. He snaps across the face and a behind.
Well, accuracy seems to be the order of the day. First was North Melbourne, and now it was Sydney, and in particular O'Loughlin, who could have kicked a goal early in the late in the last third quarter. Matt Clappe will be hoping to kick a few in the senior game.
Swans have kicked 3 behinds to 1 in this last quarter. Here's Freeborn. Off the left, up to half forward. McAdam dashes back from his man, but it doesn't come his way. Luff gets the hand pass out. Barry goes very wide. Chance here for Miles. Crawford comes from behind. Spoils Stevens. Freeborn ducks into the tackle. Holding the ball. Quickly, Brunton got the hand pass away, and the Swans on the run to the edge of the goal square. O'Loughlin's there. Gets clear. Off the left. Michael O'Loughlin. He didn't make the distance from 15 metres, but it's still in the field of play, and a chance here for the Swans. Bomford goes for goal. Oh, disappointing effort. Another behind. They can't buy a goal, the Swans, but they're having a real dip, and they trail by 7 points.
Pressure on North. Danilchenko comes out wide. Stevens has got it. Thought about going and holds up inside his own defensive 50. Back towards Danilchenko, who's run hard from full back. He's got it on the 50. Jason Danilchenko going for distance up towards midfield. Reynolds in from the side, didn't fly. Great grab is held over the top there by O'Dwyer. Down towards the wing, O'Dwyer pumps it back in once more. O'Loughlin flies from behind. It fell in front. O'Loughlin, great recovery. Then he lost it. Danilchenko is dragged down. Loose ball in front. Paddled forward by Dwyer. Now he's got problems. And a whistle. So a bounce down towards left half forward for the Swans. They're down by 7 points. They got the fast start. Generally, the middle of this game controlled by North. Ishchenko. Nice clean possession. He should have. Fell at his feet. Comes out wide to Scott. Arnott was the man who got it out. Now Luff brilliantly to Seymour, to Chapman. Chapman, one of their prime movers, has a bounce, kicks inside the 50, down towards full forward. It's fisted away down there by Freeborn. Danilchenko grabs it off hands, kicks towards midfield. Stevens couldn't control it, waiting behind Chapman again. Off his step, wobbles it back inside the 50. Arnott launched himself, jarred it out of Freeborn's hands. It comes back to Freeborn. The hand pass not good. In goes Stevens. Freeborn got it from Plyman. He's dragged down. The body's going in willingly now. An opportunity for Gorman, who gets it across. Freeborn couldn't control it. Now a chance for the Swans. It comes to Arnott, 35 metres out. He got it from Miles, and he's kicked a goal.
There's a lot going on in the world. Gets busier every day. Doing your job, having a say, taking your mark or just finding your way. But it's nice to know there's a place to go. You're always right at home. You never feel alone. You're never on your own, 'cause it's all going on at a pub near you.
Ball up in the middle, backhanded by Stafford, but Contessa for North Melbourne. Up towards half forward. Punched up the ground, but straight into the arms of Pyman. Quick exchange here, Clarkson and McAdam. Clarkson goes wide to the 50, and the mark's taken. Traianidis off the left boot. Yes, he's got it. So Swans got to within a point, and Traianidis gets his second goal for the day.
Well, there's not enough pressure there by Miles holding up that kick. He should have, if he was going to miss it, he had to take the North Melbourne player out. Traianidis just careered on and kicked a pretty handy goal on the left foot. Looks a talented player around the goals.
Well, we went 10 minutes of scrapping with no goal, and we've had a goal apiece in the space of about a minute. Hand pass went behind Traianidis. Mangan. Centre wing for the Swans. A shocking bounce out here. Hand pass up the ground and beautifully run onto by Stevens. Stevens on the run, right boot, a beautiful kick and a goal by Danny Stevens. Well, the drought's become a flood.
Yeah, 2 quick goals to North Melbourne certainly reversed the trend of what looked like it was a Sydney Swans onslaught. But when you've got senior players on your side that have got plenty of experience, you'd expect them to lift that little bit. The game is certainly up for grabs right at the moment.
They've steadied superbly. Back to a point suddenly. It's out to 13 points. Ishchenko and Stafford. It's one down by the former, taken by Chapman. Floats it across the body. Arnott with a break on his marker, and that's enough. He takes the mark on the outer side. Thought about going. He's forward of the wing. Arnott sends it inside the 50. Here comes Rocca. It'll fall in short though. Crawford does well. Played on very quickly. Pulls it back towards the middle. O'Loughlin gathers the bouncing ball. Gets the hand pass to Scott. Scott's kick is a mile off target. Out of bounds in the pocket.
They've missed some.
Yes. Scott's seen a lot of the ball.
Once again, another example of O'Loughlin's sharp handball. He knows his footy.
There's Tim Scott, a priority pick from Albury in the 94 draft. Ishchenko brings it back towards half-back. Ishchenko does a good kick. Ishchenko in front. Gets it down to Pyman. He floats it towards the wing. Could have been a free kick in front to Barry. Nothing doing. Well played by Lang. Awkward one though as it turned out for Luff, who couldn't control it. Back it comes. And they work it down the wing through Barry. Fisted away well. Coming over the top there was Stevens, who kicked that last inspirational goal. Content to get it across the boundary.
Under 10 minutes remaining in the reserves grand final. 13-point lead to North Melbourne. Lang didn't give the hand pass enough. It was chopped off by Pyman, who shares the ball with Nichols. Pyman up towards half forward. And the ball stays in. Luff is there. Paddles it well back. O'Dwyer, and whistle's gone. He got poleaxed after he got rid of the ball. And it'll be a Swans free kick. Taken by Chris O'Dwyer, a supplementary list player.
Oh.
Big early leap down there, but unsuccessful. Comes to Chapman. He's swamped. Wind, who is the brother of Scott Wind, and the ball off the outside of his boot, out of bounds at half forward. Here's the late tackle by John Barnett, and was certainly deserving of a free kick.
Yes. Several steps late. So boundary throw in. Time running out for the Swans. It falls in front. O'Dwyer, who seems to be okay, boots it through the wing. Here's Scott again, a willing worker. Cruising past his Chapman. Thought about the kick, then tried to hand pass. His first inclination would have been the best, I think. Another throw in. We're down to 9 minutes remaining in this game. And North lead by 13 points. Sydney seemed to be coming home the better at one stage. They got to within a point. McAdam goes in last. Now a bounce. North happy with this. The clock continues to run. Alex Ishchenko, will he be back next season? Been around the league and he's been a fine player in his time. Now Stevens comes away. He got it from Pyman. The ball inside the 50. Well done by O'Dwyer, going back with the flight of it. To all intents and purposes, it was going to land on Campbell's chest, but O'Dwyer got the fist in there and got it out of bounds. So boundary throw in. North Melbourne 11-13, Sydney a 9-12.
Comes down to the front. Caven for the Swans. Bounces past Stevens to Nichols. Nichols two hands it back to Stevens. And he's worked beautifully off the ball. Scott. Oh, went the wrong way. Too high for O'Dwyer. Taken by Clarkson, who's had a heap of the football today. That's 31 disposals. Campbell had it spent before he got it. And now Caven has to do it all over again. Took one step too many, he's lost it. Contessa, a centering kick is good, and Reynolds takes the mark.
All for the lack of a shepherd.
So Keenan Reynolds, who kicked 2 goals in the second quarter, lining up for his third, and this would make it pretty tough for the Swans. Andrew McKay in the Carlton rooms, thinking about the job ahead.
No, that's your, do you, Drew?
At the moment, the margin is 13 points. This will take it to over 3 goals, the margin. Goal to Reynolds.
All of this, total quality management, customer service, productivity, is important to all of us. But out there on the floor, there's one very high priority. Without it, all these great ideas are just that, ideas. Talking about safety, absolute 100% safety. Because if our people get hurt, our business gets hurt. Everybody suffers. Safety. Think it, talk it, work it.
Back in the middle, 85 plays 66. Ishchenko directs it down. This is McPherson trying to take them on and has been penalised for holding the ball. Well, that's a quick whistle.
Bit sudden.
He did take them on, but whether he was retarded or not, if you'll excuse the expression, is problematical. There goes Nichols inside the 50. Off hands down in front, Barnett. Looks towards goal. That's a very good effort. That is the sealer. Broad smiles all round. Great goal.
Well done to John Barnett. Big Barry Stoneham, his second grand final in consecutive years that he'll be missing through terrible injuries, a chronic calf tear, a broken leg that wouldn't heal, and really he just has to look on and allow his teammates to do the job. But great goal to Johnny Barnett, and he probably knows he's got a premiership.
Back in the middle, Stafford got very high over the top of Ishchenko. Danilchenko, long kick inside the 50. Reynolds bowled over when he didn't have the ball. Barnett, the hand pass to Clarkson. Little one round the corner. Comes to Dwyer. Snap, just offline. So 92 to 66. And when you consider it's been a pretty tight game all day, the Swans led by 13 at quarter time and then North by 10 and 10. And this is about the biggest margin of the day. Centre wing, Brunton, Stafford. Pokes it back to Brunton. In he comes to Crawford. They need to come home with a rush. Out wide. Rocca. The hand pass in. Scott surely this time gives the hand pass. O'Loughlin the goal. Michael O'Loughlin, who started in defence, gets his first goal. And with just under 6 minutes left, 20 points the margin, maybe a glimmer of hope.
Well, it was a good build-up. Rocca getting the ball. Lots of handball there. Another one from Scott, who hasn't had much joy with kicking with inside 50. So a good option to another fellow who's also missed. Sprayed a few and O'Loughlin, but pretty tough to miss them from a metre out.
It's been a good duel, this one, Stafford and Ishchenko, but that time Ishchenko couldn't get to the contest. Contessa knocked it down. That's him working hard. Mangan hacks it forward, down towards half forward. Luff's back on the forward line now, controlled it pretty well. Tries to get the hand pass off. Mangan had followed up but lost it. McAdam, who came with him, kicks it across the ground, out towards the boundary. In front and across the boundary goes the defender, and that's not bad policy, just bouncing it out with Simpson. Thought he'd take it out, but he decided that may not look too flash. Could cost him a kick, so he gained about 5 metres, angling the kick away. The intention always there. Throw it in. Ishchenko hooks it down behind Crawford. A chance. Gets it away. Scott fumbled. Now he's got a problem. Plenty of North players going to smother the ball. And eventually one of them emerges with it. That's Nichols. Sends play back towards the wing. Caven in best position. Almost the mark. Couldn't hang on. It goes across the line. So boundary throw in alongside the interchange gates.
Interesting situation here. The rules of this competition have changed mid-season because they started off playing 25-minute quarters with no time on, and now they're playing 20 minutes with time on. Now, under the rules of the first half of the season, well, you'd just be knocking the ball over the boundary line, feigning injury, doing whatever you like, making sure the clock was going to tick down to 25 minutes. Can't do that anymore.
No, well, it's ludicrous. You have rules that are different in the reserves competition to the seniors. If you go up, I mean, you're accustomed to one thing.
Not to mention different rules in the same competition within the one season.
Yes, quite right.
Luff dives and takes a mark. Too far out to score. Pokes one round the corner. Now Bomford's gone from half back to half forward. Well played, son. Short pass to Rocca, and Rocca takes the mark. 4.5 minutes left. He concedes some ground, and Scott has it right in front. And we hope he kicks this one because he has had the wobbles with the kicking.
Once again, the Swans showing that they can pass the ball effectively. One suspects that perhaps North has just dropped off the defensive intensity.
And Scott hits the post from right in front and 30 metres out. Well, that's disappointing. He's won the Ovens and Murray best and fairest the last 2 years. You'd reckon he'd kick those?
You get the feeling every time North think they've got this one and take their foot off the accelerator, Sydney are just chugging away behind them, and they immediately start to move again. But you'd say if you're a gambling man, North have got their measure. Danilchenko to Ishchenko, who drops it. Stafford brilliantly done. He's got from behind though. It was jarred loose. Picked up eventually by Pyman, but it's going to be a free kick to Sydney, and Arnott will take it down towards centre half forward. Well, Stafford did the good early work, but it was a little slow. That's a good kick coming in, so Scott a chance to make amends. He's marked the Arnott ball from about, I suppose, 35 metres out. He'll take this kick. Scott tries to bend it back, but again he's wide of the mark.
There were no Swans blokes walking to the centre.
It has been a game of missed opportunities, though, for both sides.
Now 3 1/4 minutes left. Traianidis, who's kicked a couple of goals today, a supplementary list player from Shepparton. He's going to be in a premiership side for North Melbourne. Big Alex, is it his last game? Mark near the centre of the ground. The hand pass off. Contessa, short pass. McAdam. He goes long for Nichols with Brunton, the 2 number 13s. Caven is there, looks for the boundary line, looked pretty deliberate. The umpire said, throw it in. We don't want to delay the game anymore because the pre-match entertainment's about to get underway.
Dennis Carroll, I think, knows it's gone. There's the time remaining and the margin. Plus, it's down the wrong end of the ground. Stevens soccers off the ground and scores a behind. Stretches it to 19 points, so it'll take 4 goals to win it from here. Stevens has been a good player at half forward. Mangan wastes no time, comes into Crawford. He's got the ball up from the back pocket. He plays on immediately. And the kick comes from O'Dwyer towards the wing, taken by Arnott. Just the defensive side of the wing, and he's getting 50. It could be 50 more if Reynolds isn't very careful. Now, Arnott wants to play on. He's not allowed to do that. The umpire has whistled the clock dead, so Arnott comes down towards half forward. And really, in this area, Sydney have not been convincing. And again, they go short, and this time the mark is held by Bomford, who had to stretch. Now he tries to find Rocca on the lead. It was well wide of the mark. Rocca comes in the picture belatedly, but the ball from Traianidis bounces down towards half forward, and it will be a free kick to Stevens, who was held. Well, he knows he's won another premiership. Still in the game, as you can see. Geister is going to get a free kick. Advantage won't be paid. McAdam making a beeline for goal, but the ball will come back.
Let's hope Rodney Eade hasn't signed his contract yet. The ante might go up today.
Yes. So Paul Geister will kick it goal from about 35 metres out, maybe a little further, and hopefully put the finishing touch to this grand final. 13-15, 10-14. Rocca, who works so hard for Sydney, he's got 3 goals so far in the game, now standing the mark. Geister misses, and the lead now out to 20 points.
(94-74), minute and a half to go. Stafford's been an excellent player, but he infringes this time with a push to Reynolds. Keenan Reynolds comes in short. And Robert Pyman, who has had a pretty big day, 24 possessions. Clarkson's had 32. And now they're just using down the clock. Reynolds just forward of centre wing. North lost the last 2 grand finals in the reserves. They'll break through this time. Their last premiership in the reserves was 1979. Of course, they're in the old days of under 18s used to win a lot of premierships with Dennis Pagan. The kick by Reynolds inside the 50. Alex, juggle, no mark. Comes off hands. McPherson loses control. Barnett concedes some ground to Ishchenko up from defence. A left footer wide out towards the pocket, and it'll go out of bounds, and we'll have a throw in. The clock stopping with 28 seconds to go, and Rodney Eade is ringing the Brisbane Bears or Fitzroy or somebody saying, get me, I'm available.
Well, no doubt he'll savour this first. Ishchenko almost clean possession. Caven tried to knock it away. Chapman scrambles a kick out. This is McPherson across half back. Feeds it back to Seymour. The Swans continue to run. Seymour goes looking for Scott, and Scott has been paid the free kick. He wants to move it, but the bird has flown. We're down inside the last 10 seconds. Scott bounces the pass out to Brunton. 70 metres from goal to the pocket, and Luff has it. And he will kick after the siren. North Melbourne have won the premiership. Handshakes all round. And Luff kicks. I tell you what, he's kicked a goal, has he? That's a terrific effort after the siren. But you've got to say, not a lot of pressure on. The whole season had just evaporated before his eyes. So North Melbourne winners. Interesting game. They were challenged by Sydney, who got to within a point, as we go down to Russell Morris with Alex Ishchenko.
Yes, Dennis. Alex, congratulations on today for your last game. A good way to finish, obviously.
Yeah, it was, Russell. It's been a big week for me. My partner Micah gave birth to our baby daughter Jade. So
congratulations.
Good way. One career finishes, and I suppose another one starts.
So it's a double celebration this week for you.
Yeah. I haven't been able to wet the head yet.
So that'll be tonight, and for a couple of days.
Yeah, I'd say a couple of days at least.
Mate, you must be pleased the way you've left the club. You've had a great season. It was a great career yourselves, and players like Corey McKernan coming up and holding up the mantle from the ruck's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, this year was always going to be a support role, waiting for Corey and Matty to come on, and it's turned out that way. I played half the games, played the night premiership, but it's been a great club, and they've been terrific.
So no hard feelings. You've had a great. How many games for yourself?
I don't really know, about 150 odd here, and then I don't know how many in Perth. Like another 70 or 80 over there. So yeah, that's enough.
Mate, fantastic. Look, go and enjoy yourselves with the rest of the guys. Congratulations. Thanks, Alex.
Big Alex Ishchenko, who was an inaugural member of the West Coast Eagles when they joined the AFL in 1987, and since then a brief stint with the Bears before coming to North Melbourne. Some happy young North Melbourne players, and they look as though they've got a fair amount of depth and a ruffle of the hair from the coach Rodney Eade, because with the seniors going so well and finishing 4th this year, and the reserves winning the flag, things looking pretty good at North Melbourne.
Well, it could be a strange situation. I mean, Rodney Eade in the chop-up with the Sydney Swans, he could find himself coaching a lot of these young boys he's been plotting all week to beat.
Exactly.
There's the veteran, the football nomad. He's been a willing worker for a number of clubs. Alex Ishchenko. And the way he spoke, this will be his final go-round, I'd suggest. Rodney Eade is standing by. Let's go down to Russell Morris.
Congratulations, Rocca. It sets you all up for a senior coaching position next year somewhere.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that, Russell, but the guys were terrific today. The kids were, they've been fantastic all year, and hopefully some of them go next year and play senior footy.
You must be very proud. You've now won 2 premierships, one with Brisbane and now with North.
Oh yeah, that I know that the club and the people like Dennis got to take a fair bit of credit the way we train and all that sort of situation, and there's a fair bit of talent there, so I think the players got to take the credit for that.
Certainly. How much input does Pagan have with the seconds, along with yourself?
Oh no, he probably doesn't have any input on match day at all, but both teams train together, and I think the way we train and the intensity of training and the team rules and the game plan we've got are certainly a big help for the kids.
Oh, good luck for the rest of the day, and have a lot of fun, and good luck for next year.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Rodney Eade, the successful coach there with Russell Morris. Well, these two teams, and there's Barras, who still has some input with the Sydney Swans, naturally, and is on the committee looking at the Swans' next coach. And one of those applicants is Rodney Eade. And there's the final score, a 14-point victory to North Melbourne. Interestingly, they played 5 times this season, those two teams, and 14 points in the grand final was the biggest margin.
That's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football.
The 7 Sport Mitsubishi Mark of the Year. Your phone vote could win you a Lancer GLX Coupe. Just dial the phone number you wish to vote for. Mark 1, Paul Kelly, Sydney. Mark 2, Dale Kickett, Fremantle. Mark 3, Gilbert McAdam, Brisbane. Mark 4, Kingsley Hunter, Fremantle. Mark 5, Sean Smith, Melbourne.
And the Final score in the Reserves Grand Final, North Melbourne 13-16-94, beating Sydney 11-14-80. The leading goal scorers for North were McAdam, who kicked 4, and Reynolds, who kicked 3 goals. And for the Swans, Rocca kicked 3 and Crawford kicked 3 goals. Now for the presentation of the Premiership Cup and the Reserves, here's Craig Willis.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the Australian Football League and Coca-Cola, it gives me much pleasure to invite the captain of North Melbourne, Alastair Clarkson, to come forward and accept the AFL Coca-Cola Premiership Cup in the reserve grade.
Yeah, just first of all, I'd like to thank the Sydney Football Club. They really put on a good effort today. It was a tough tussle all game, and it really shows Sydney's going places when they've got so many good young kids coming up through the reserve. Sorry, I got Rocca over my shoulder in the Big Russian. They've been a real inspiration this year. The Big Russian's his last game today, and when we're doing a lap of honour, he'd love you all if you did a standing ovation for the big fella. And last but not least, we've got 20 other boys just over here who really spilt their blood and guts today, and right through the season we've done at Carlton, really, we've won about 15 on the trot now, really done it the hard way, but it was a real good effort by the boys, and thanks very much.
Well, congratulations to North Melbourne, and I now invite them to make a lap of honour here at the MCG, winners of the AFL Coca-Cola Reserve Grade Grand Final.
What a team photo that'll be on the walls at Arden Street down the years. Yes, well done to Rodney Eade to get them up in his first year as coach of the reserves, and it will be his last. He will be moving on, there will be no doubt about that. And big Alex Ishchenko, well, we talked to him earlier on, a terrific career, lots of games in Perth before joining the AFL with the Eagles in '87, then going to Brisbane. And Rodney Eade, who's been drenched by the champagne being poured all over him. A final gesture for North Melbourne, giving them a flag.
They were challenged too, it got to within a point in that last quarter, so they did very well to pull away. Robert Plyman at the back, obviously feeling the effects. Rodney Boots, he started very well and set the tempo well.
Been a big year for Alastair Clarkson. You said how long he'd been around the club, but he didn't get too many senior games, just 3 this year, but he tied in the Gardner medal and now captain of a premiership side in the reserves.
Yes, he's had a great game and a great season, and in the past he's at the senior level he's done the job on Greg Williams effectively a couple of times, but in the reserves competition he's regarded as the equivalent of a Greg Williams, and today once again he's returned fantastic figures, 22 kicks, 11 handballs. It really has performed as a leader is expected to. A brilliant performance by Alastair Clarkson, and well done to him.
North Melbourne 14-point winners in the reserves over the Sydney Swans. So this club has had an amazing turnaround in the last few years, with the seniors playing in the last 3 finals, the reserves in the last 3 grand finals, and finally getting a flag. North Melbourne on a roll. Watch out for them in the remaining years of the 90s.
The 1995 AFL Premiership season. Brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Australia, Qantas, McDonald's, Mobil, Carlton Draft and National Australia Bank.
Happy premiership players leaving the arena. But the big one is still just around the corner. And there's Justin Madden, and my lingering memory of the 93 grand final was Madden shedding tears after they gave such an insipid performance against Essendon. I think every Carlton player will be steeled for a better performance today in 95. And look at Harry getting ready for it. It should be a great game here coming up at the MCG. There's nothing like it, the MCG on grand final day. Rodney Eade still getting congratulations from everyone around North Melbourne. But we are looking forward to the big game between clearly the best two sides of the competition this year, Carlton and Geelong in the grand final. Coming up soon with your commentators, Sandy Roberts and Ian Robertson and Malcolm Blight, back at the MCG soon.
This has been a 7 Sports production.